think Tevez going to Juventus, what a coup that was for me. I mean,
on a head-to-head battle, Atletico Madrid can do more damage to Barcelona than the other way around.
Either he's really blind or he's fixing the match. I can't see it any other way.
It is an upset. You would expect Man United to go and win there.
Over $1 billion was paid in transfer fees between the clubs in Europe.
And Bayern Munich are going to be favourites for me against anybody at home in the world. The 03-04 season, actually, Olympiacos have won 8 of the last 10 domestic league campaigns, so there is only really one team in Greece, which we kind of already knew.
Because things have been pretty much decided, just as a quick glance before we go through the table, PSG is going to lock up this thing with 1 more point. Monaco's solidly in second place. Lille is going to be in that Champions League qualifier position, 7 points ahead of Saint Etienne. If you're a serious talent, you're going back and you're playing for Santos. You're going back to play for, like in Argentina, for River Plate or Boca Juniors, or you're going to Europe.
He looked like the Ryan Giggs of old. He was more creative than any player on the pitch. He made Mata look stupid. He made Rooney look silly.
I am your host, Joe Usello. My co-host, Rob Rojas. My trusted co-host, Ben the Machine. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of Low Limit Football. I'm your host, Joe Usello, and back and sort of well-rested from a nice little vacation. Probably with the weather I came back to, should have stayed in Mexico forever. It is currently a balmy 20 degrees here in Connecticut after another 6 to 8 inches of snow. We've gotten anywhere upwards of 4 feet over the past 3 weeks, and I've kind of had enough. But we're back. We're ready to talk some football. Can't wait for some action. We've got some good guests tonight coming up. We had to take a rain check of one of our guests, and he's feeling under the weather. So for Joe Gould, we would like to express that he gets well soon, and we will have him on soon enough, as soon as he's feeling up and ready for it. So want to head over to my other co-host who is freezing. Actually, all of my co-hosts are freezing, but the one closest to me location-wise, Rob Rojas. Rob, what's going on, man? How cold is it?
What'd you say, 20 degrees?
I think it's like 20.
Oh, here it's 18.
Oh, my good Lord.
With a low of 7 tonight.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's just crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I've certainly had enough of it. And, this time last week, I was on the beach in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. It was just north of 80 degrees. Sun was out. Water was warm. The mojitos were flowing. It was all good. And now it's this. So, but let's go to somebody
back to reality.
I know. Let's go to somebody who might actually be a little colder than us right now, and that is Mike Orr. Mike, what's going on, man?
8 Fahrenheit. We're quite a bit warmer than you.
8 Fahrenheit. Wow. That's not cool. It is cool, actually. It's kind of cold. I think I woke up to -2 this morning, Fahrenheit. So,
yeah, we've been really cold. Today's a little break, but it's supposed to get back into the -0s tomorrow.
It's just enough's enough. Seriously,
actually, sorry, Wednesday. Tomorrow's actually a high of 20.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. All 20 of it, huh?
Yeah, all 20 of it. I'll still be inside freezing.
Oh my God, it's absolutely crazy. But
Joe, can I just interrupt you? Did you see what I put in chat?
Let me see here.
Just about our guest and his time.
Let me take. Oh, I did.
Okay.
So we may kind of move up our timetables here a little bit on our guests. I'll go ahead and reach out to them. But we'll see if we can do that. And right now I'm currently working with Nabae, who's coming on at 8:00 to possibly. He's going to be coming.
He said he's in.
Yeah, he's definitely coming on at 8:00, but we're trying to work out a beta because
he just came on Skype, by the way.
Yep, no, I see him. He and I are chatting, but we're gonna actually set up a beta. We're trying to set up a beta for tonight to have a link on Houndsports to go ahead and listen live to the broadcast, and then if we can go ahead and get that link to work, we will be broadcasting the I'm sorry, not Copa del Rey. I did it again. El Clasico live. I believe that's on March 22nd. So we're going to do kind of a quick little chat there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. One other thing I do want to read quickly. Caught this news. I was given this news last night by James Hart, who is the CEO of Year Zero. I'm sorry, is the chairman of Year Zero Soccer,
and the goaltender for Manchester City.
James Hart. That's right. Well, different.
Oh, that's his brother. Sorry.
There you go. His better brother. But I'm going to read this. This is something that he's going to be posting on Year Zero Soccer, and I wanted to read it live. It is with heavy heart that. And tremendous sense of loss that we are here at Year Zero are sorry to share the news of the loss of a great friend in Clint Alexander. Clint was one of the original contributors to the idea behind Year Zero and a constant cheerleader for our cause. As CEO of San Diego Flash, Clint was always coming to me with ideas about how to market the game to our audience and always willing to put in time after long hours of working on his own projects to help us succeed. I became a shareholder in the San Diego Flash because Clint was so passionate about opening up access to people of football and breaking barriers of ownership to football. He approached everything with a positive attitude and a never-say-die willingness to assist. My last conversation with Clint occurred about 2 weeks ago, and I could tell he wasn't feeling well. Rather than ringing off, he insisted on hearing about how the meetings were going and insisted on hearing how the progress at Year Zero was coming along. He loved the idea of being our work, he loved the idea behind our work, and we loved him. Clint brought me into the back room of the business of football. He taught me a great deal about how the game works behind the scenes, lessons that I will carry with me for life. Clint has touched many lives, as social media can attest. He is beloved in many circles. I have never heard a bad word spoken about Clint. A great friend has shuffled off this mortal coil. Let us keep his dream alive of providing accessible football to the world. Rest in peace, my brother. I hope we can fulfill some of those dreams you had. Be the change you want to see the world. There is never more fitting time to assess what that means to each of us than when we acknowledge the passing of one of our tribe. James Hart, Chairman, Year Zero Soccer, and friend of Clint Alexander. Clint, keep in mind, is kind of a pioneer in terms of the idea of extending ownership to the masses when it comes to football ownership. He has a program with the San Diego Flash where you can actually, for a certain amount of money, be a part owner of the team, which I don't think I know of in terms of the United States anywhere else. It's a fantastic idea, concept, and obviously the world has lost a great football mind. So I wanted to pass along our thoughts and condolences to his family and friends from all of us here at Low Limit Football, and unfortunately we never did get the chance to talk to him, although we were going to be working on that. But I hate to open it on such a down note, but I think it needs to be opened like that. So, guys, we have an enormous show tonight. I'm going to reach out to our 7 o'clock guest to see if he can come on a little bit earlier. Because our 6 o'clock guest is probably going to be coming on at 7 o'clock. But we actually have 3 guests coming on tonight. Like I mentioned earlier, Joe Gould, who was supposed to join us tonight, is a little under the weather, so get well soon, Joe. He's going to be coming on in a couple of weeks, had to take a rain check. But we do still have our huge guest, which is Steven Caldwell and Euan McTear. Steven is the former captain of Toronto FC. He's going to be our first live active footballer we've ever had on this show, which I'm incredibly excited to talk to him for a few minutes.
And right off the pitch.
Yeah, because he just went down to Florida today, and they had a training session, and he's going to be good.
He's actually still in it. I think he said it was pushed back till 5:45. That's why he's going to be late.
Okay. No, so, I mean, there you go. And that was kind of the idea. That was the great thing about this, is that we had the opportunity to talk to somebody who's literally just walking off the pitch, calls us. It's amazing access to somebody, and we're very thankful that he agreed to come on and give us that access. Our second guest tonight is Euan McTear, who is writing a book about Eibar. As we've mentioned plenty of times in the past, Eibar is the official team of Low Limit Football. We talk about 6,500 capacity in their stadium. They've worked all the way up to La Liga, and this gentleman's writing a book on them, so we're going to be great to talk to him. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to have Nabae Asfar back with us from Houndsports, the senior editor at Houndsports. And we're going to talk about a couple of projects he's got going on. We're also going to dabble into the Champions League a little bit. Some of the other things going on tonight, as we had mentioned 2 weeks ago, we've retired the Blackburn Banter and the Man City Corner. And we're going to be opening with a new segment that we're going to close the show with, which is basically going to be the week ahead. So looking at some of the top matches that we wanted to preview moving on in the week ahead. So Mike, I'm going to go to you first. Before we kick off with the African Cup of Nations as something that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet, anything that you want to bring up over the past 2 weeks that we've missed or haven't had the chance to discuss?
Not really, I don't think, but I'd like to give you tonight's trivia question so you got time to think about it, and I'll definitely give the answer this week.
Go for it.
Okay. I have played in the Merseyside, the Tyne Wear, the North London, the West London, and the Manchester derbies in the Premier League era. Who am I?
Wow.
So in the Premier League era, so it's, in our time, and he's played in all the derbies. Wait till the end of the show.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost, but that is a good one. We'll have to figure that one out.
Is he still currently playing?
I'm curious to see if Rob's going to get it.
Is he still currently playing?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay.
My thought is that he is probably not, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, so Rob, now that we've got our trivia question in the back of our heads, what else is going on? How about your week? What were your 2 weeks like?
That was good. I mean, obviously a bit lackluster considering both my national team in the U20 got eliminated and my club in the Copa Libertadores.
Yeah. That kind of stunk. I saw because it was Cerro lost, I believe.
Yes, they lost the first leg, but they tied in the second leg, so they lost on aggregate.
Yeah, and then the U20s. I think Paraguay finished sixth, right, of the hexagonal.
Yeah, sixth bottom,
losing to Peru in the end, I think.
Yep.
I know, and I mean we had pretty high hopes for this U20 Paraguayan side. We talked about Sergio Diaz over and over again among the other talented U20 players that they had, and it's surprising. I mean, can you give us a rundown as to why you think they bowed out so early?
To talk about, I guess why they bowed out was probably, I guess the feeling that they weren't well as a team. They couldn't. The coach didn't have to make the right decisions. They couldn't make the right decisions in terms of what type of team to play. Obviously, the controversy with Sergio Diaz wanting to have more an effect on the team. Mm-hmm. So that could be one of the reasons. But I think it's something that we should ask Potito Bernabe if we get him on the show.
I think we're probably going to have him on a couple weeks because we're going to want to dive deeper into the Libertadores as it gets a little deeper into the tournament. So I know,
absolutely.
I know we're going to probably have him back for that. So yeah, I think we should definitely, because he's going to be an expert on that stuff. I mean, even if we had Ralph Hanna come back for a few minutes, I'm sure he would be an expert on it as well. So
yep, either one.
But it's just unfortunate that we didn't. They didn't advance further. They didn't finish well, where it looked like they started out so well in the tournament. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's gentlemen, let's get to it. Like I said, we're gonna discuss some stuff as I get ready to try and reach out to our 7:00 guest. Rob, do you guys have anything prepared for the African Cup of Nations? Because I'd like to probably start there.
Do you want to start with the all African team?
Yeah, let's do that. If you have that ready, yeah, let's go with it. Why don't you
Okay, it's pretty weird. They named two goalies.
They did?
And they have a 5-3-2 formation.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of defense.
Yes. Sorry, a 3-5.
3-5.
It's actually a 5-3-2 because they've got two wing backs.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So either way you want to look at it, it's 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, but it is with two wing backs.
Okay.
So the goalkeepers are Sylvain. I'm not going to be good with a lot of these pronunciations. I'm sorry. So maybe you guys can help me out when you can. Gahobo from Ivory Coast.
Right.
And the other goalie was Robert Kiraba from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay.
The three defenders are Serge Aurier from Ivory Coast, Harrison Afal from Ghana and Kolo Torre from the Ivory Coast. The two wingbacks, wide players were Andre Ayew and Yannick Bolasie, who's continuing his good form, obviously down there. He did his Premier League form. And they also named Max Gradel, Gervinho, and Yaya Toure. And the forwards were Christian Atsu from Ghana and Wilfred Bonney from Ivory Coast and Manchester City.
Yep. A heck of a side. I just wanted to add, I believe currently one name that you mentioned there that I was going to bring up in the French league is Andre Ayew, who I believe came back injured, and he's out for a little while with Marseille. So
came back injured from the tournament, or has picked up an injury since?
I think he came back injured.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, so that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, just what a great team, I would say. A lot of strength there. Max Gradel, I think, is the surprise on that list. He had himself an incredible tournament. And who did they name as the best player or the golden? What they were the golden boot for that, I believe.
Yeah.
Who did they award as the top player? Was it Yaya Toure?
Christian Atsu.
It was Christian Atsu. Okay.
Christian Atsu.
Another guy that had a great tournament. So, and it was a fantastic run. But I think let's talk about how the tournament finished, because from what I understand, and again I was away, so I didn't get a chance to see the match entirely. But from all accounts, the match itself was lackluster, but the shootout was absolutely thrilling. Rob,
Yep.
What have you heard and what have you seen?
I saw Suleiman. I'm trying to remember his last name.
Suleiman Fullerin?
Yeah, going insane. Okay. After that.
I can imagine how he must have absolutely lost his mind.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But no, it's well deserved for the Ivory Coast. I think this is their first ever championship with this generation, golden generation.
It is.
It's just so sad that one integral player is not on that team, and because he retired too early, was Didier Drogba.
Yeah. That's the sad part, is that that is missing. That team is missing Didier Drogba, and you would have liked to have seen somebody who's arguably, well, he's considered currently the greatest Ivory Coast footballer of all time. I know, Yaya Toure. I know, Mike. Sit down. But it's sad that he didn't get a chance to win a trophy like that. But again, this Ivory Coast, I think they're on the tail end of a golden age, and it's good to see them come away with at least one trophy. For this side. Mike, what are your thoughts on Ivory Coast sealing it up?
Well, just to carry on with your thought that this was maybe the end of their golden age, Kolo Torre announced his retirement from international football.
Oh, wow.
After the Ivory Coast win.
Okay.
Yep.
Kolo, though, not
Yaya.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Not yet, right.
But
hopefully
soon, according to your thoughts, right?
Yeah, I wanted to do it before the tournament, but that didn't happen.
I know, or have him disqualified in the tournament somehow. But now let me ask you, as a Man City guy, did he get any time off coming back, or did they throw him right back into the lineup?
No, he hasn't been. Neither of them have played yet. So
nope. Okay. Yeah, I think they came back today.
Yeah, and not for nothing, with a tournament that obviously was played in a hot climate. It's grueling. They need the time off. They need the time off to be able to recover. And I guess the FA Cup and all those competitions really fall in at a nice time for them, because it gives them the chance to kind of get the week off and get a little bit of get the wind back in their sails, so to say, before they move on.
Yep.
So, but again, congratulations to the Ivory Coast on a fantastic tournament. They definitely had a tough road to get to this point, and the Ghanaian side is certainly no slouch at all. So it's amazing to see. I'll tell you what.
And sorry, Joe, that moved the Ivory Coast up to 20th in the world rankings. I think it was 12 spots they moved up, but for some reason Algeria is still the top African team at 18.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, the thing with those FIFA rankings is that they take into account like the last 4 years. Do you know what I mean? Of all their matches. So, if we look back maybe 3-4 years ago and see there was a stretch maybe where the Ivory Coast wasn't performing as well and Algeria was performing out of their minds, it would skew the number a little bit. So with those FIFA rankings, you always have to take them with a grain of salt. I mean, the U.S. right now is at one of their lowest rankings. I think they're like 35th or something. Behind Costa Rica, behind Mexico. They're behind a few sides. Not saying that they deserve to be higher, but you got to take all that with a grain of salt, I think.
And I guess one other thing we're going to find out is what's going to happen with Morocco now after not taking the tournament.
Right, because they actually, I believe they had their suspension reduced, but the fines were still outrageous.
Right, and they are either going to appeal it to the Sport of Arbitration in Switzerland or take it to regular court, is what they're saying.
Wow. Okay, so that story's not over yet.
No, it's just beginning, I think.
We're going to see. According to Victor Scamorza, he's reporting that there's last he had heard it was a 2-year ban. Still going on, so we'll have to see what happens there. So, Rob, you know what? Let's get into our league coverage, and the reason I say that is because I am efforting our guest as we speak. Hopefully he's available and can join us a little earlier. I think it'd probably be nicer for him as well, seeing that he's over in Scotland. So if we can get him on early, we can talk about Eibar. So why don't you take us into La Liga?
Yep, that I shall. To begin La Liga, we had Almeria with a 2-2 draw against Real Sociedad. Mm-hmm. On Saturday, Sevilla 3-0 win over Cordoba. Real Madrid 2-0 win over Deportivo La Coruña. Athletic Bilbao 0-0 draw against Granada. Espanyol 2-0 against Malaga. On Sunday, we had Valencia 1-0 against Getafe. Barcelona with a Messi hat-trick, a Suarez bicycle kick, and a goal from Neymar. 5-0 against Levante, putting their wins to 11 straight in La Liga.
Yeah, you and I had a nice little conversation about that with Alex McMahon. It was Alex McMahon, I think it was, over the weekend about their dominance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the best, if not the best team in form in the world at the moment.
Agreed.
Rayo Vallecano 2-0 against Villarreal. Surprise win, actually, for Rayo Vallecano. And the shock of the weekend has to be this one. Celta Vigo 2, Atletico Madrid 0. Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
I did hear about that. That was something quite amazing to see Atletico lose to Deportivo this weekend. That was something else.
I watched it. Fernando Torres back to his old 18th row. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And today we had Elche 1-0 against Eibar. So at the table, we have Real Madrid still in first with 57. Barcelona 1 point behind with 56. In third, Atletico Madrid with that loss at 50. Valencia at fourth with 47. Sevilla at fifth with 45. In sixth, Villarreal with 41. And Eibar in 10th with 27. The match... Should I choose a match of the week?
We're going to do that at the end.
Okay.
Because we're going to look at it at the week ahead. I don't know if you want to prop up the bottom of the table.
Okay, bottom half of the table, we have Cordoba in 20th, Granada in 19th, and Levante in 18th, with 18 and 19 points respectively. Bundesliga?
Nope, actually, let's... If you'll give me 1 second here, I'm just sending a couple of quick messages here. We're going to head into France. Let me just send a quick message here real quick. Maybe you want to give them a quick little taste as to what match we're going to preview?
For La Liga.
Yeah, the one we're going to talk about at the end of the show.
Barcelona and Malaga.
Barcelona against Malaga. Yep, okay. That's right.
All right, so give me. I'll tell you what. Let's take one more second here because I'm just gonna. I'm gonna get our guest on here quickly, if I can just sort of add him in, and let's see if he's available for us. I know this is kind of changing up the order of things, but we're accommodating by doing a couple of things here. Joining us now on Low Limit Football is all the way from Scotland is Euan McTear. Euan, this is Joe Usello from Low Limit Football. How are you tonight?
Hi, Joe. How are you? I'm good.
Good. Glad you could join us. I'm glad you could actually, I know we agreed to have you come on in about 35, 40 minutes, but we've had a couple of changes with our guests tonight, so I'm glad you were flexible and were able to come on sooner. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fine.
My first question,
And a former Scottish international we are getting you on for early.
That's right, because
I don't think I'm going to quite replace him in terms of footballing ability, but
that's all right. We still appreciate you coming on. The first question I want to ask is obviously when you reached out to me, you told me that you were writing a book on Eibar, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. I'm gonna ask you just a simple question: why Eibar?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's the fact that they're even in the top two divisions in Spain is remarkable. I mean, the town they come from is a town of 27,000 people. I mean, to put that in American terms, I think I don't know what the smallest MLS city would be. Probably Salt Lake, maybe Columbus. I don't know. Probably about 1 million population.
I think you're right. I think at best, I think it's probably Columbus. I'd have to definitely double check it while we're chatting. But yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah, I don't know myself, but I mean, both those cities, I guess, about 1 million people, and then you look at Eibar, and it's 27,000 people, and the stadium, 5,000 people, and yet they're hosting the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, something that other teams across Europe could only dream of.
Sure. And just to confirm what you said, the population, I just picked one, Columbus, Ohio, 822,000 people. So just amazing, right. Amazing to have a city like Eibar with such a small population, have the likes of the Lionel Messis of the world and the Cristiano Ronaldos of the world into their stadium to play. It's a small town's dream come true, that's for sure, don't you think?
And it's a dream come true for the neighbours, because just ahead of the stadium are 2 apartment blocks, and they go up maybe about 20 stories each.
Yeah. And
so all of a sudden, these balconies have Ballon d'Or winners playing below them. I mean, imagine that below your balcony. That's something quite special, quite unique.
That is going to be a treat on a Sunday afternoon, I would say.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because some of the residents there are saying, it's not actually as cheap as you would think, being able to watch the games on the balcony, because, well, all their friends are keen to come over, so the bill for the wine and the chorizo to watch the game actually probably comes out more than a ticket to go down and watch in the stadium. But then again, you wouldn't trade it for the world, would you?
Sure. And now I believe they've actually increased the capacity of their stadium. I believe when they first came into La Liga, they were listed at about 5,000 seats, and I think last time I checked, it was somewhere around 6,900 seats. With this team, the way they're performing right now, they believe they're in 10th place right now in La Liga. So they're 10th place. They're a point ahead of Rayo Vallecano and only a point behind Celta Vigo for 9th, even though they're on a 4-game losing streak at the moment. But for the moment, let's just do a quick little math here. They are 8 points out of the relegation zone. I wouldn't want to say that they're looking safe as of yet, but they're certainly well on their way to staying in the Primera Division, at least for next year. Any plans have you heard of them possibly increasing capacity to help, basically to make more money and keep the team afloat?
Well, to be honest with you, the club doesn't want to increase capacity. There's a rule in La Liga where stadiums have to have a minimum of 15,000 seats, and they get a 2-year grace period if they don't meet that requirement, and they have to be seen to be working towards that, which is why they've increased the capacity, like you say, to 6,000 and a half roughly. But they don't really want to increase, because from a town of 27,000 people, they still don't fill it. I mean, at the moment it's about 70% full each week, and the only sellout we've had all season was when Real Madrid came to town. But from a week-to-week basis, there are still quite a lot of empty seats, so they could double the stadium, and it wouldn't really generate that much more money. But there is this requirement hanging over them that the league rules say you have to have 15,000, and a lot of people, I think, assumed that Eibar would be relegated before that became an issue. But it's like you say, 8 point safety. It's looking like that's an issue they might have to deal with.
Okay. Before I throw it over to Rob, I want to just ask you one more quick question. I'm trying to remember who that first person was that scored that first goal for Eibar in La Liga this year. I want to say it was Javi Lara, but I don't.
Yeah, that's right.
It is right. Okay, I had a feeling. And according to what I can tell statistically, it's the only goal he scored on the season. So if you had to put your finger on one player, whether it be on the pitch or in goal, as to their best player so far this year, who would you point to?
I would probably say it's the Italian Pio Vaccari, he's a top scorer, so that's, he's obviously important. And even more worryingly is in the match tonight where they lost 1-0, he got a straight red card, so he's going to be missing for the next few, which someone else is going to really have to step up and start sticking him away. But he's impressed this year, and he's scored quite a few, not just a lot of goals, but he's scored important goals. Which is what you would ask for. Right.
He's also tied on goals with Mikel, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Arruabarrena.
Arruabarrena, yeah, that's right.
They both scored 5 goals each so far on the season, but Pio Vaccari has a couple of years on Arruabarrena, so a much younger guy. So I'm going to throw you over to Rob Rojas. I know Rob has a couple of questions for you, so Rob, fire away.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Euan. My first question to you is, do you think that Gaisca Gaetano is considered one of the best young coaches in all of Europe at the moment, given what he's done to this Eibar side?
In all of Europe, probably if they can stay up, I think definitely. But in Spain, he's certainly highly regarded. It's a similar situation to what happened with Barcelona and Pep Guardiola. I mean, Gaetano was looking after the youth team for a couple of seasons, and when they parted ways with the last manager, Mandiola, it was Gaetano that they promoted, and he's really took the team forward, bringing in a few of the young players, a bit like Guardiola did, well, kind of steadying the ship a little bit and just playing some nice football. I mean, the stereotypical Basque football team plays in a mud bath and they punt the ball long, and that's your stereotype of Basque football, but they don't do that at all. They might play in a mud bath, and the pitch is not looked great this season, but they play some nice stuff to keep it on the ground, and that's really down to him. And if they can stay up, Eibar will have quite a challenge on their hands to be able to keep them.
Do you know why Eibars have been doing so well on their first ever appearance in La Liga, being 10th in the league so far? What do you think is the part of that success?
I think a lot of it comes down to confidence. I mean, this is a team that's just had 2 promotions in a row, with largely the same group of players, and I think the sky's the limit for them. They really have a lot of confidence in that first game, where they played at home to Real Sociedad, and they won that game 1-0. I think that really steadied them for the season and showed them that they're not going to be the league's whipping boys. They were there to beat their great Basque rivals Sociedad, and after that you think, well, who can't they beat apart from Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, perhaps? After that, everyone's beatable, I think, for Eibar, and they've had that sort of mentality, and it's a little bit worrying now that they've had a 4-game losing streak, because I think they've had a lot of technical ability, a lot of their results have come from confidence, so it'd be a shame and a bit worrying if they lose that.
Do you see them staying up? Do you honestly do? And where do you see them in the highest position in the league?
I think they'll stay up, but I think it'll come down to the last day. I mean, they got their points in the piggy bank early, because even with a 4-game losing streak, they're still 8 points ahead of the drop zone, which is, that just shows how good the first half of the season was. But they've lost a few games recently against a few of the other teams that you would consider relegation candidates. So I can see them dropping before the season ends, but I think a couple important wins against the other teams in the relegation battle, and I think they'll stay up, probably maybe 15, 16, 17. Only just.
All right, thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Joe. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I do have one more quick question, and again, thanks for joining us early.
No problem.
Now, you said you're writing a book. When does that book come out?
Later this year. Sometime towards the end of the summer.
Okay. All right. And strictly on, is it going to be on the history of Eibar or just how they got to where they are?
It's going to be a mixture. It's going to be a chronicle of this season, but with some of the history in between, and a look at the last two promotions from Segunda B and then the Segunda to get to the Primera.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you again for joining us, and especially joining us coming on such short notice tonight. We really appreciate it. And once the book comes out, please feel free to reach out to me and let us know, one, how we can get it, and then we'll have you back on again so that we can talk about the book.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the rest of Eibar season once we know how it's going to play out.
Agreed. That's right. We can actually spend a few minutes talking about how they're going to do in their second season in La Liga.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Thanks again, Euan. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.
And that was Euan McTear. Exciting. You think about writing a book on such a small team and such a small club, but the story is fascinating, guys. Just a small club worked their way up and in, and here they are. Like he said, you've got the last 7 Ballon d'Ors walking onto their pitch and a 6,500 seat stadium with people sitting out on their balconies on a Sunday afternoon get to watch Lionel Messi play. I mean, it's like the stuff of dreams, don't you think, Rob?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. And again, like we had mentioned previously, we really do hope that they do well. As the little guy, it's something that we can all root for, and they are the official team of Low Limit Football. So we're certainly happy to root for them. So thanks again for Euan to come. First of all, for reaching out to us and letting us know that he had this project going on, and that we're glad to have him so we could talk about it. So,
yep.
So let's head over to Ligue 1, and I know we feel like we're kind of whipping through this stuff quick, but ideally, Steven Caldwell is going to be on at about 7:15. So, I'd like to have the leagues done and dusted before we head there. So, starting with the scores on Friday, we had Marseille and Reims play to a 2-2 draw. On Saturday, we had a surprise. I guess it's certainly an upset. Caen drawing at the Parc des Princes 2-2 with PSG. We had Toulouse 2-1 over Rennes. And Monaco and Montpellier was, I believe, suspended because of the French Cup play, so they will be making that match up. Bastia 2-0 over Nantes. Evian 2-0 over Lens. 2 red cards in that match. Lille and Nice played to a 0-0 draw. Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne. Bordeaux beat Saint-Etienne 1-0 at home. Guingamp on the road 2-0 over Metz. And Lorient and Lyon played to a 1-1 draw. Let's head the tables real quick because it's still knotted pretty tightly, although we're starting to see some separation now finally. Lyon currently still in first place on 51 points, and this is all after 25 matches. We have Marseille in second place on 49, tied with PSG. In fourth place, we have Saint-Etienne now on 41 points, so there's your separation. Saint-Etienne losing 3 of their last 4 matches. Monaco in fifth on 40 points. Bordeaux in sixth on 40 points. Montpellier in 7th on 36 points, Guingamp on 35, Nice on 34, and rounding out the top 10 is Nantes on 33 points. Propping up the bottom of the table, we have Metz on 21 points, losers of 4 of their last 5. Lens on 22 points, and Evian on 26, last team in the relegation zone. Then we come to Toulouse, actually 3 teams on 28 points, including Toulouse, Lorient, and Caen. We have Reims on 30 points, tied with Bastia. We have Rennes in 12th place on 31 points. And rounding out the bottom 10, we have Lille on 32 points. So the match that we had predicted previously this week was the Lyon-Paris Saint-Germain match from a couple of weeks ago. I believe on that particular match, I picked a PSG victory because of no Alexander Lacazette. I did get this one wrong. I had it ended up a 1-1 draw. Clinton Njai goal in the 31st minute for Lyon, followed by a Zlatan Ibrahimovic penalty kick in the 69th minute to draw level. Statistics in this particular match, we had possession 66-34 in favor of PSG, Shots on this one were 14-7 in favor of PSG. Shots on target 6-2 in favor of PSG. So PSG really holding the dominant side of the ball here, but only have 1 point to show for it. And this is the kind of match that really, if you look at it, was an opportunity for PSG to really jump back into this thing with the league on standings. Not saying that they're out of it, because they're currently, I believe, 2 points out of first place. But if that match goes differently, we're talking about PSG finally making it back to the top of the table, and they're not quite there yet. So we still have a 3-team race, and I think we're going to end up with a 3-team race, guys, for the foreseeable future in this league, especially if Marseille can manage to keep pace with the Lyons and PSGs of the world. Once Lyon gets Alexander Lacazette back, there aren't many teams that have an answer for him. And obviously PSG is PSG, so it's going to be fun to watch this one down to the end. But this, I think, was a little more enjoyable when you had Saint Etienne and Monaco in the mix, and they seem to have fallen off the pace a little bit. So that's going to do it for our League One coverage tonight. Rob, I'm going to throw it back over to you to the Bundesliga if you want to give us the coverage there.
Yeah, absolutely. To start off things in Bundesliga, we had Borussia Dortmund with another win for Borussia Dortmund, actually, 4-2 against Mainz on Saturday. I'm going to leave off 2 matches in particular, so maybe we could talk about it. First one, Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0 against FC Cologne. Hoffenheim 2-1 over Stuttgart. Werder Bremen 3-2 over Augsburg. Eintracht Frankfurt with I guess you could say a surprise win against Schalke. And this one, Bayern, the team that supposedly was on got bad hate over their loss against Wolfsburg, 8 against Hamburg. Did any of you guys get to see the match?
I did not. Mike, how about you? Did you get a chance to see it?
No, I didn't.
So,
well, I guess I'll run down everyone that scored. Obviously, we had...
Well, there's only a couple of goal scorers.
Yeah.
Which is amazing for an 8-goal match or 9-goal match?
8.
It was 5-3 was the final.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 goals from Muller, 2 goals from Götze, 2 goals from Robin, 1 goal from Lewandowski, and 1 from Uri.
Okay.
And the other match is obviously the match of the weekend. Has to be.
Yeah.
Wolfsburg 5, Bayer Leverkusen 4. A hat-trick from Song, and a goal from Bella Hardibi for Leverkusen, and 4 goals for someone that did score against Bayern at the beginning of the year. Bas Dost.
Yeah, I think the stat is he's scored 8 goals in his last 5 games.
Yep.
Amazing. That's
correct. So definitely one of those players that is definitely on form at the moment in 2015.
Yep.
It's not. I think he scored more than Cristiano Ronaldo, the reigning Ballon d'Or, so far.
And I was listening to Sirius XM earlier today while I was working. The thing behind Dost is that he's never really performed to expectations because he's been kind of injury riddled, and really overcoming that this season where he's actually getting his time on the pitch. So you're really getting to see him shine finally, where previously he was kind of almost considered a bust, but now he's really performing up to his expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's capable of doing for the rest of the season. Yeah. And in Europa as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're
coming up
there as well. Yeah.
At the table, we have Bayern still in first with 52, Wolfsburg in second with 44, in third, Borussia Mönchengladbach with 36, in fourth, Schalke with 34, in fifth, Augsburg with 34, and in sixth, Bayer Leverkusen with 32. Rounding up the bottom of the table, we had Stuttgart at the bottom with 18, Hertha Berlin with 21, and Freiburg in the relegation playoff with 21 as well.
Yep. Dortmund's climbed out of the cellar.
Yes, they have. With 1 point, however.
Yeah.
Just 1 point from it. Obviously, the match of the week for this week is going to be Augsburg against Bayer Leverkusen.
Yep.
A win for either side would see them in top 4.
Yep.
Given Schalke does not get a result against Werder Bremen as well.
So we'll definitely preview that match coming up. The one other thing I want to point out about the tables here, Wolfsburg, who's really performing. Actually, right now, looking at form, they're the best performing team in the Bundesliga right now, and they're equidistant from Bayern Munich as they are from Borussia Mönchengladbach. They have 8 points. They're 8 points behind Munich, and they're 8 points ahead of Mönchengladbach. So I think safe to say Wolfsburg is certainly going to close out this season in second place. I don't see them possibly catching Munich, but at the same time, I don't see them possibly losing to Mönchengladbach. So certainly they've done well. They added Andre Schürrle in the transfer window from Chelsea, and this is a team I think really moving in the right direction. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So they're gonna be fun to watch. How about the match that you had predicted, the Schalke Mönchengladbach match? Do you want to talk about that from the previous show?
Yeah, I think we did. Did you want the result from that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2-1 Schalke.
2-1 Schalke, yep.
Actually, sorry, 1-0 Schalke. 1-0 Schalke.
1-0 Schalke.
1-0 Schalke.
You nailed that one on the money.
Me and Rob predicted the score exactly at 1-0. I predicted 2-1, and Joe, you predicted 1-1.
Okay, so of course I got it wrong. We're not going to talk about my predictions anymore.
Oh, we are at the end of the show.
I'm sure we are. So basically, whatever to our listeners, if you're feeling inclined to gamble or bet, although we're not, condoning gambling, but if you feel so urged as to bet, usually bet against me. That's I would say is the best advice I can offer.
Except poker.
So far, but you're going to pick it up, right, Joe?
I hope so.
In the coming weeks?
We're gonna
Except poker. Except poker, though.
I don't know. Mike and I have played against each other a couple of times in some of these poker tournaments. Mike might say that I'm just as bad on the poker table as I am betting or handicapping soccer matches. So, but hey, that's a story for another day.
Small samples, Joe. Just small samples, though.
Exactly. It's true. It is. So statistically speaking, it's negligible.
Irrelevant, right?
Yeah. So, all right. Let's move on to the Serie A then, which we had on Monday, February 9th. We had Lazio losing at home 1-0 to Genoa, which is, I believe, the match that I had predicted wrong. On Wednesday, we had Parma losing at home 1-0 to Chievo. Saturday, we had Fiorentina 3-1 on the road over Sassuolo, and in an upset, we had Palermo 3-1 over Napoli. On Sunday, we had AC Milan and Empoli draw 1-1. Udinese losing at home 1-0 to Lazio. Roma and Parma, it has to be classified as a complete upset. Roma drawing at home at the Stadio Olimpico 0-0 to bottom feeder Parma, who just finally got to 10 points after 23 matches. We had Genoa 5-2 over Hellas Verona. We had Inter 4-1 over Atalanta with 2 goals from Freddy Guarin in that one. He's starting to play a little better. Torino and Cagliari 1-1. Chievo 2-1 over Sampdoria, who has fallen off the pace since the transfer window. And in the other quote-unquote upset of the week, we had Cesena 2-2 draw with Juventus. I did get a chance to watch this one yesterday, and just Cesena just would not relent. And kudos to them for getting into this match. They actually did take the early lead to start, and gave up the lead with 2 goals from, I'm trying to think who one goal scorer was. The other one was Claudio Marchisio. Oh, it was Alvaro Morata on a nice ball in from Paul Pogba on a nice header that totally had the goalie beat. But again, credit to Cesena, who was in 16th place. They're actually 7 points out of, or 7 points into the relegation zone, and still managed to draw with the almighty Juventus on this match. Juve, at the same time, like I had mentioned, giving it away. They had another opportunity to step on the throat of Roma and really just finish off this league and pick up their 4th straight Scudetto, but weren't able to hold on to the result. So going through the table in this one, Juventus on top, currently 54 points. Roma in 2nd place on 47. Napoli in 3rd place on 42. Fiorentina on 4th place on 38 points. Lazio in 5th place on 37 points. Sampdoria and Genoa just outside the European positions on 35 points each. 8th place Palermo, 33 points. Torino in 9th on 32. And rounding out the top 10 is Internazionale of Milan on 32 points. propping up the bottom of the table. Parma with the draw, moving to 10 points. Cesena on 16 points. Cagliari on 20 points, last team in the relegation zone. Then Atalanta, 3 points ahead on 23 points. Verona, and that is Hellas Verona, by the way, on 24 points. Empoli on 24 points. And Chievo Verona on 24 points as well in 14th place. Udinese in 13th place on 28 points. Sassuolo in 12th place on 29. And rounding out the bottom 10, AC Milan on 30 points. And gentlemen, just one thing I don't think we got a chance to mention was one of the talking about the two Milan teams here, knotted up 10th place for Inter, 11th place for AC Milan. There was somebody that had mentioned that the best thing Milan could do is actually combine their teams. So that was the subject of a question from BN Sport, who asked us to run a sampling or a tournament analysis of if we took the cities that had more than one team in them to combine the teams, make all-star teams, and then come out with a result. And the city of London was victorious over Rome, Turin, Manchester, Liverpool. I'm trying to think of the other teams, guys. Can you remember real quick? Or
Buenos Aires?
Buenos Aires, that's right. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Or am I missing? Oh, no. We had Madrid. Didn't we do Madrid as well? We did Madrid as well.
In fairness, though, the other teams didn't have much of a chance given the coach of the London side.
That's true. So, well, he is a special one, right? So,
yes, I am.
Yeah, that's right. So, our match of the week that we had chosen, I had picked the Lazio Genoa match. I had picked Lazio to win this one 3-1. I got it very wrong. Genoa coming out on top on this one on the road, 1-0 on a Diego Perotti penalty in the 29th minute. We had Lazio go down to 10 men on the 27th minute with Federico Marchetti picking up a red card, a straight red, and had to play down a man the rest of the match. Statistics in this one: possession was dead even, 50-50. Shots were 9-7 in favor of Genoa, with 5-1 in favor on target. So, and again, like I'd said, if you want to win, bet against me. So
we all got that one wrong, Joe.
Yeah, I'll take full credit for the loss though. So that is the Serie A. Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you for the Premier League if you want to run us through some scores and highlights.
Okay, because we had midweek matches in the Premier League this week, I was just going to use our predicted weekly match from last week and then just go right to the midweek games. So our weekly match of the week last week was Tottenham and Arsenal. And Harry Kane, inspired Tottenham to victory over Arsenal in a wildly frantic and frenetic North London derby. An early Mesut Ozil volley put Arsenal up 1-0, only for the Spurs to produce a thrilling and deserved comeback, with Harry Kane's second half brace securing a 2-1 win. The victory saw the Spurs temporarily leapfrog the Gunners in the Premier League standings. And I say temporarily because on Tuesday we had midweek action, and Arsenal moved back into the Premier League top four as they edged out bottom club Leicester 2-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal took control in the first half on goals from Koscielny and Walcott before Croatian forward Andrej Kramaric netted his first Leicester goal. Hull moved out of the relegation zone with a 2-0 victory over Aston Villa. And caretaker boss Chris Ramsey presided over QPR's first Premier League away win of the season as the Rangers controlled Sunderland 2-0 at the Stadium of Light on goals by Leroy Fer and Bobby Zamora. Liverpool's Mario Balotelli picked the perfect time to score his first Premier League goal of the season, as Liverpool did enough just to edge Tottenham 3-2. Gerrard and Markovic also scored for the Scousers, with in-form Harry Kane and Moussa Dembele replying for the Spurs. On Wednesday, we had 6 more matches, with Chelsea, who left it late against Everton, will net the winner to keep the gap atop the table at 7. Manchester United beat Burnley 3-1 on a Chris Smalling brace. And Adrian was sent off for West Ham in a goalless draw against Southampton at the St. Mary's. Sergio Aguero was at the double as Manchester City hit against Stoke for 4. beating the Potters handily 4-1. Also scoring for City were Nasri and Milner, with Crouch netting for Stoke. Crystal Palace rescued a point as Alan Pardew faced his old club Newcastle in a 1-1 stalemate. West Brom eased their relegation troubles with a 2-0 home victory to Swansea. And at the weekend, we had the FA Cup. Did you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
Okay. Alan Pardew's dream of reprising his 25-year-old FA Cup triumph was ended Saturday with a 2-1 loss at home to Liverpool. This year's shock-laden competition continued with second-tier Blackburn Rovers thrashing the Premier League side Stoke City 4-1 at Ewood Park, in which the Rovers have seen an opponent sent down to 10 men for the 5th FA Cup game in a row. Josh King with the hat-trick for the Rovers. Record-siding Brown Ide scored twice for Albion as they also progressed to the quarter-finals with an emphatic 4-0 hammering of West Ham. See what I did there?
Nice.
4-0 hammering of West Ham.
Nice.
On Sunday, Bradford City, a third-tier club, touched by tragedy at times over the last 30 years, continued their march with an uplifting victory over Premier League side Sunderland 2-0. Championship side leaders Middlesbrough could not continue the form in which they saw Premier League holders Manchester City losing 2-0 to Arsenal, and in a battle of two struggling Premier League sides, Aston Villa saw off Leicester 2-1. And in a game this afternoon, Manchester United beat Preston 3-1. The draw also took place before the Manchester United-Preston draw. And the games to be played, the quarterfinal, it starts on March 7th. It will be Liverpool against Blackburn, Bradford City against Reading, United against Arsenal, and Aston Villa against West Brom. And that's your Premier League.
All right. So, let's tell you what.
What do you think about any of those matchups in the FA Cup?
Run through them one more time for me.
Liverpool against Ben's Blackburn.
Yeah, which I think we'd all be excited to see because, Blackburn moving, this far into the tournament.
The lowest side still left Bradford City versus Reading.
Okay, that's home.
At home, so that's it's got to be a big payday for them anyways. And I guess the match of the quarterfinals, Manchester United taking on Arsenal.
That's obviously the feature.
That's obviously.
Yeah, that's the big one. But I think, I think that's the big one, and then obviously the Liverpool Blackburn one is going to be certainly the must-watch matches, to say the least. Don't you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the storybook or fairy tale one is Bradford City.
Right. So
should be interesting. I look forward to March 7th.
I agree. And then obviously we're going to preview our match later on in the show. So
I can quickly go through the table. Sorry, Joe, I didn't do that.
Oh yes, please.
The top 5 in the Premier League then are Chelsea on 59 points, Manchester City in second on 52 points, Manchester United in third on 47 points, Southampton in fourth on 46 points, Arsenal with the last European spot in fifth at 45, and just behind them is Tottenham at 43. The bottom of the table is Leicester City on 17 points in 20th place. 19th is Burnley on 21 points. 18th is Aston Villa on 22 points. And just propping up above them are Queen's Park Rangers and Hull City, like I said, who moved out of the relegation zone with their 2-0 win. And that's basically the table.
That's it. So,
Yep.
Just taking a quick little gander here, pretty quick. Obviously, Liverpool's performing as one of the best teams in the Premiership right now. They are 4 wins and 2 draws in their last 6 matches. What are your feelings on them possibly jumping back into this picture and stealing one of these positions against, stealing it away from Arsenal, Southampton, or even United?
What do we think about Mario Balotelli? Was that a prelude, or was that just a goal? Good weekend.
I think that's the big question on every Liverpool fan's mind right now.
Because I think that'll have a lot to do with answering the question that you just asked.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. If it's a sign that he is coming out of it, then you're there. But if it's not, then they're in deep trouble.
Is that a plane?
It sounds like it, huh? That's a little feedback. It sounds like so. Mike, I'm going to leave it with you. Actually, do you want to talk about did you talk about the Tottenham Arsenal match? I did. I think you did.
Yeah, I did.
So
Harry Kane scored a brace as they came back from down 1-0 to beat Arsenal 2-1.
That's right.
In what was a really good game, actually. I enjoyed watching it, and Harry Kane is on fire.
That's right. Let's I'll tell you what, let's go over, let's leave it with you because I know we're going to have Steven on here in about 15 minutes or so. Let's head over to the MLS. I think it's a great entrance into talking to Steven. We can talk about the MLS for now, and then we should have Steven Caldwell on.
Okay, well, I guess a couple of stories there wasn't a lot going on in the MLS this week with training camps opening and the transfer window finally shut, but there was a couple of league stories, I guess, that you have passed along. Maybe you could talk about this one for me. Colorado passes on Diego Forlan.
Yep, I did see this particular story pop up, and it looks like the Colorado Rapids had inquired about possibly acquiring Diego Forlan, or Diego Forlan was offered up to the club, but the club decided to pass on the offer. And this is something that kind of interests me. You know, for me, even this year at the World Cup, I didn't think Diego Forlan played terribly, poorly or anything like that. He's still a decent player, and he's currently playing over in Japan. But there's a chunk of me that admires the and I'm getting a message from somebody saying that Colorado's stupid for doing this. But there is a small piece of me that actually admires Colorado for not doing this, because to me, I think if Colorado would have made this move, we would have been talking about the MLS as, the retirement league again. We add Steven Gerrard, we add David Villa, we add Kaká. All these guys are certainly on the backsides of their careers, on the downslopes of their careers. And it was starting to look like a lot of the old NASL, where the retirement home was over on this side of the island, or this side of the pond. But this, couple this with the news that Giovinco comes over, which I want to talk to Steven about in a few minutes. To me, it starts to point towards the fact that MLS is trying to get younger, and pick up that type of talent. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'd like your thoughts on that. But to me, I'm 50-50 on this move. I'm kind of like, good for them for not picking up the old guy. But at the same time, I'm like, this is a pretty good old guy. So Mike, what are your thoughts on the Rapid passing on Diego Forlan?
Diego Forlan has always been my favorite Manchester City player ever.
Okay.
He never scored, and I really appreciated that. I think you're right, though, that I don't think that's the type of player that MLS should be going for, although Colorado, given where they finished last year, and I think they have had a few problems. I'm not sure on this, but did they not have a few empty seats last year?
They did. And that was kind of my thought, too, is that this guy would have put some butts in seats. And, with the direction Colorado was going in, which is no direction, this guy might have made a little bit of a difference.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Who's a bigger signing for New York? Is it Frank Lampard or is it Mix Diskerud?
I've got to say, I think the bigger signing is Frank Lampard.
In terms of what they're going to do on the field, though?
Mix Diskerud.
Diskerud,
right. No doubt about it.
So that kind of answers your question about signing these older players.
Right. And for me, I'm still in the camp of I wish Diskerud didn't come here. I really wish he did not sign that contract to come here, because I think he would have been better served going over or staying in Europe and training there rather than coming across here.
Did he not have, I think he had an offer from Rosenborg, I believe.
He did, but
Rosenborg.
But he's been playing for Rosenborg in Norway for a couple of years now. I think he wanted out of Norway. which is understandable. But don't go out of Norway to come to the United States.
No offense to our Norwegian listeners, by the way.
Of course, I mean, but he'd have been just better. He'd have been better off going to the Dutch league, in my opinion, or even going to Turkey. And playing in a side there if he had I don't know if he had offers or not, but those are the places that I would have liked to have seen him gone. Could he have cut it, let's say, going to France, or cut it going to, say, Italy? I think he would have been a role player moving into those leagues. It might have been better for him. He might have materialized into something a little bit bigger.
So is the Turkish league, in your opinion, better than the MLS then?
Yeah, I think it is. It's close. I mean, this MLS, the league here is certainly moving forward and getting better. But, when you're in Turkey, especially depending on the side you're playing for, you get Champions League, you get Europa League, you get all those other competitions that you just don't get here. So from that aspect, I think Turkey would have been a better place.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So, Rob, I mean, what are your thoughts on Mix Diskerud coming over?
I think it's a good transfer, to be fair, and if it furthers himself to better performances on the national team, then I don't see why not he should come to MLS. Yeah. I think it's going to improve his game for the national team.
I mean, do you think it was a good move for him, Rob, or New York, or for both?
Well, considering New York City FC is the newest club in the MLS, so
a great move for them. But do you think it was a good move for him?
If it does work well for him within the first few months, then yeah, definitely.
Okay,
I think so.
I mean, I think it's an okay move for him. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was a good move for him. I think he could have done better. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I'm going to be one of the beneficiaries of Mixed Diskerud moving to MLS because I'm going to get to see him. So I'm going to get to go, buy tickets and watch him play. And I think he's an incredibly exciting player. Even we kind of talked about it with Jimmy Conrad a couple weeks ago, where we said, who's the next guy? I don't know if you guys remember me asking him that question.
Yeah.
And I asked that question with the idea of Mixed Diskerud in the brain. And the first name he threw out there was Mixed Diskerud. So, I think I think he is the next guy. Now, is he going to be the next Landon Donovan or the next Claudio Reyna? No, I don't think so. Personally, for me, I think that kid might be Joe Zhao. And we'll see what happens when he comes back. He suffered that injury last year, and he's playing over in Germany. I think that guy could be Joe Zhao. But
I hope it's not Tishio Akindele.
I don't think it's going to be Akindele. Akindele is certainly a major talent, but I don't think it's going to be him. It's
heartbreaking when I'm going to see him start playing for USA.
I know, but I think, again, like I said, he's a talent. He's certainly a big talent, but I don't think he is that guy. And right about now, I'm really missing not having Joe Gould on the show. Because this is all stuff we would have talked about, so we're gonna have to put this in a bottle and save it for a couple weeks. But
I guess one more story you brought up, Joe, that was Vegas is no longer being considered as right now an expansion site for the MLS.
Yes, this was an interesting one that caught my eye. It was a letter from Don Garber sent to the mayor of Las Vegas, basically saying thanks, but no thanks until after 2018. Where
interesting that the NHL's considering going there, though.
But this is the thing, and unfortunately, it's a Vegas image. Vegas has the image of gambling, and rightfully earned. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. It's the gambling capital of the world, no doubt about it. But I think a lot of these major sports teams are afraid to move there because they think there's going to be some kind of influence. Little do they know, in this day and age of internet gambling and all that kind of stuff, you don't have to be in Vegas to gamble. You can be in your underwear in your basement with a laptop and gamble. I mean, so I think there is, a lot of these leagues still have that image of the gambling in Vegas that would potentially corrupt a league, and I don't see that happening anymore. I think technology has moved us beyond that point.
What were the reasons given for not going there right now, Joe?
It didn't say. I'm looking at the letter right now, and it says, and it was addressed to Mayor Carolyn Goodman of Las Vegas. Dear Mayor Goodman, I want to truly thank you for your efforts to bring an MLS expansion club to Las Vegas. We deeply appreciate all of the work that you and your city council members have done to support the development of a soccer stadium in your thriving downtown. Unfortunately, given the timing of our expansion rollout and the uncertainty as to when we might be able to move forward in Las Vegas, we are no longer considering Las Vegas as an expansion market until after 2018. We have truly enjoyed working with you, your office, and the Finlay and Cordish groups. We would look forward to revisiting this in the future and believe that given the right circumstances, Las Vegas would be a vibrant and successful market for an MLS expansion club. Sincerely, Don Garber. There's really
Was this going to be an indoor stadium?
I doubt it, but
could you imagine playing soccer there in the summer?
Well, I mean, we're talking about playing soccer in Qatar for the World Cup.
Have you been to Las Vegas in July, Joe?
I haven't been in July, but I've been at the end of May. It is, I'm not going to lie to you, it is hot.
Like 125.
Yeah, but there's something about the dry air that makes 125 tolerable. Now, granted, when I was there, it was only 100. But
every time I walk outside of a casino in Vegas, I feel like I'm walking into a brick wall, and I mean that literally.
I mean, I'm wondering if you've also got to remember playing the matches at night in Vegas. I think they would have done stuff like that. I think they would have tried to do things that would have allowed them to play. And I see here that they were going to put the stadium downtown, maybe moving the stadium to the hills. Just on the outskirts would have been a little bit of a better option, something of elevation. Do you know what I mean?
And I guess it's not dead yet. It's just not right now, right?
Right. It's not right now, but here's my issue with this overall. We're sitting here talking about a city that was willing and able to open up a piece of property to build a stadium specifically for a soccer team to move in. And they were accepting them with open arms, and MLS said no. Meanwhile, we have somebody beating down doors in Miami as hard as they can and cannot budge the system, who've looked at multiple sites and have not been able to even break ground on any of them. If I'm David Beckham, I'm like, you know what? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Las Vegas, let's talk, because he's really spinning wheels in Miami, and this is the kind of thing, maybe one of these days in the near future we'll get somebody like Juan Arango on, or even if we can get Phil Shane back on to talk about it, who really have the pulse of this Miami situation. I just feel like
we can't get David Beckham.
We can always try. Come on, you know us. I mean, we're not afraid to try getting anybody on the show. Okay? So if you want David Beckham, I will certainly effort David Beckham. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I will sure as heck try. And if anybody listening has a way for me to reach out to David Beckham to contact him to come on our show, I am glad to explore any and all options to make that happen. So,
and we'll take Posh at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll take Okay, well, if you got to remember, if you get Posh, you have access to David. So I'm all for it. Last thing I want to mention real quick on the MLS side is the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame inducted 3 new members this week: Brian McBride, Bob Bradley, and Christine Lilly. First one I'm going to talk about is Christine Lilly, Connecticut native, as our 2/3 of this team. And, glad to see it happen. She was a stalwart on the U.S. women's national team. She was a member of that 99 team that won the World Cup. So certainly great to see. I think a well-deserved entrance. The other 2 certainly deserved as well. Brian McBride, arguably one of the best strikers to ever play for the U.S. men's national team, and also had a successful career in MLS. He also did get to play in Europe for a time. So certainly well-deserved there. Everyone's lasting image of Brian McBride is the bloody face. I believe it was in the Mexico game where he took a nice little headbutt. But congratulations to him. Bob Bradley, I've got to say I'm glad. I'm glad Bob Bradley got accepted or inducted into the Hall of Fame. I don't think Bob Bradley was appreciated enough when he was coach of the U.S. men's national team. And you've got to remember, he had big shoes to fill with following up for, and his name is escaping me now, the coach of the LA Galaxy,
Bruce Arena.
Thank you, Bruce Arena. So, big shoes to fill. I thought he did very, very well. He had a great 2010 World Cup for the U.S. in South Africa, I thought. Unfortunate to lose to Ghana in that tournament. And certainly has moved on and become successful still. I think unfortunate that he got bounced out of World Cup qualifying so early with Egypt in his last go-round for a national team, but had been recently coaching in Europe and rather successfully. So good to see him. I know there was talk about him possibly coming back here, even possibly going to
Toronto.
Right, to coach Toronto, but that never materialized. So, kudos for him. I'm glad he got in as well. Rob, I'm going to go to you first. Any thoughts on the three inductees?
No, I absolutely deserved. And I wanted to make a mention. I think it was against the Italy match where Brian McBride had the bloody nose.
You might be right.
Pretty sure.
You might be right. Well, I remember it was a gash on the head where his eye was swollen completely. So, Mike, how about you? Any further thoughts on the induction class?
I have to admit I don't know very much about Christine Lilly, but Brian McBride, obviously, I have watched from the beginning and definitely deserved. And I agree with what you said about Bob Bradley. I think he's pretty underrated, especially in North America.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, keeping with the MLS theme, obviously we've got a couple more weeks before we kick off the MLS season. Hopefully that's true. Because we still have not resolved this this labor thing, this labor issue, I guess, because we're not going to call it a strike, we're not going to call it a lockout or anything like that. But
a new collective bargaining agreement has not been agreed to.
That's correct.
Yep.
And I think it's unfortunate, guys. And correct me if I'm wrong. You guys might know this a little better than me. I don't hear of these labor strife situations happening in the European leagues. Have you guys ever heard of anything like this?
I don't think they have any such thing.
Yeah.
No.
This is strictly an American...
This only happens in closed-tiered sports, I believe.
Yeah. It's single entity. I mean, paging Ted Westervelt.
I think but I think you're right. It's unique to North American sports.
I agree. I think it is too. And unfortunately, it's really causing a situation with the potential lockout of this season. I don't know what the solution is. I've heard. I really think, guys, the MLS is at a point where they're at a tipping point because you've got arguments occurring on both sides of the ledger on this one. You've got people that are saying, yes, they should make a stand on this particular bargaining session or this particular contract. Where they need to make the free agency stand, they need to do all that stuff, and they need to do it now. And I've heard other arguments saying, you know what, this is actually one agreement too early, and they need to make that argument next.
I'm not even sure if it is the right argument because you have a vast majority of players making $36,500. Not a vast majority, sorry. I mean a number of players making the minimum of $36,500.
Right.
That free agency isn't going to help one bit.
Right.
It's just not. Yeah, so definitely. I think there needs to be some way to help those players that are like $36,500. Come on.
Yeah, and you've got to remember.
And they're not going to benefit from that.
$36,500 in some states is enough to collect Medicaid. It's low enough that you can rightfully collect on Medicaid. And
I'm pretty sure in a state like yours in the north, you're hurting on $36,500.
You're not surviving on 30. You actually are on welfare. If you're
in Toronto too, the same thing. Yeah.
So how can we sit here and look at a professional footballer, and and in one breath look at them on the pitch playing in front of 30,000, 40,000 people night in night out, traveling with the team, and then collecting food stamps. It's absurd. So I think these are a couple of different arguments in the collective bargaining scenario where you've really got to up that minimum wage for these guys. You've got to get these guys into a level where they are making good money, okay? Where they have a reason to play after college or after whatever education system they're in. Okay? I think that's one thing that absolutely needs to happen. The second thing that needs to happen is, and I don't know that we need to go through promotion relegation, but I think you need to make the owners responsible for their teams at this point. Do
you mean like removing the MLS from owning the contracts? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. I think that will be the start of it. If you can get to that point and start removing MLS from owning the contracts and making teams individually responsible, then you can start to move into that free agency on the next contracts, on the next negotiating table.
Then do we need a salary cap to protect from teams like Toronto and I guess LA and a couple other teams that would be considered the big spenders? They have the money. I
think you do. I think in Europe they call it financial fair play right now. It's not necessarily a hard cap, but you've got to be able to, to spend as much as you collect. So, so that they have an equality there.
But under that system, Joe, a lot of the small teams that are in, well, even in the Premier League, but definitely in the Championship and they're really restricted from ever being able to get big by that financial fair play.
Oh, yeah.
There was a couple of smaller league teams that got called in on the financial fair play, where teams like Barcelona are spending, upwards of $500 million, and somehow that fits within financial fair play.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the financial fair play system is the right system. I'm just saying that that in general there is a system to point towards equality, let's say, in Europe, okay, or to try and create some semblance of equality. And I think you would need a similar system here in the United States for MLS once we got to that point. But I think, I think that's going to be a part of free agency, and I don't know that free agency is going to happen on this one. But I do think the step in the right direction is a couple of things. One, raise that minimum wage for these guys, and two, get rid of the MLS owning the contracts and make the teams own the contracts. Because let's look at it this way, guys. If MLS owns all the contracts, then MLS can dictate whatever it wants in terms of where players go. Case in point, Jermaine Jones. Okay, everyone argued about how he was supposed to go to the Chicago Fire. Everyone was sure he was going to the Chicago Fire, and all of a sudden he goes to New England, and everyone thought the fix was in. Well, that happens because a place like an organization like MLS has ownership of all the players. Okay. So I think you need to get rid of that. I think you need to make teams responsible.
Or Toronto.
Well, I don't think...
Where last year they bring in Jermaine Defoe, and now all of a sudden they can bring in Javinko and
Altidore.
And Benoit Cheyrou.
Oh, right, yeah.
A smaller signing, but still, there had to be teams out there that would have wanted him.
Oh, sure. Of course. But, and that's, again, well, I think in the end, you've got to look at this Toronto side. Haven't made the playoffs. Right, since their inception, but they've been one of the biggest spenders, and I think right now MLS really wants a team like Toronto to break through that playoff, glass ceiling and get into the playoffs and probably at least possibly perform at that in that end of the season.
Especially given that they have two huge American internationals with Michael Bradley and Jose Altidore on the squad.
Sure, and not only that, but they've also added one of the biggest names in, that came over from Europe, and that is, Sebastian Javinko. It's unfortunately, I think that all needs to change.
Although I guess the Giovinco one does fall outside of the allocation, right? Because that's only for American internationals, am I right? Only American internationals have to go through the allocation process, right?
No, I don't think so.
I think that is right.
I'm not 100% sure. You might be correct. I'm not 100% positive. But
that's why all these teams have to get their spot for the American players. But I think the players outside of it might even be allocation spots for North America, but I'm pretty sure outside of that, it's sign who you can.
Maybe because I'm thinking back to Mix Diskerud. Mix was also rumored to possibly go to the Philadelphia Union, if I remember correctly, but ended up going to New York instead. So.
Which they traded an allocation spot to get him to when they traded
to come in
somebody to Montreal.
Oh yes.
And then Montreal in turn gave them their allocation spot, which allowed them to sign American international Mix Diskerud.
Right, and I can't remember who it was that NYCFC sent to Montreal, but it was a player of consequence.
Right.
I just can't remember who it was at the moment. It's escaping me.
I'll see if I can find that.
Yep. So, but and I've got Victor Scamorza telling me that MLS is a single entity. The $100 million buy-in means that it'll never happen. So, and I think he's right. Unfortunately, is that as long as that's the case, we're going to be stuck with this system, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we're just waiting on our guest for Steven Caldwell to come on. I just messaged him again to make sure he was able to join us. So I'm just waiting to hear back. You know what, gentlemen? Let's move on since we've covered our MLS. We've talked about our MLS stuff. I think one of these days, guys, probably within the next couple of weeks. I know we're going to get Joe Gould on in a couple of weeks to talk about the U.S. men's national team. But I think what we should probably do is effort one of those, not promotion, even a promotion relegation guy, just to come on and talk about MLS and really dig deeper into these types of things. Maybe, I guess, once we have determination as to whether they're going to be on strike or they're going to come to an agreement, then possibly have somebody on that we can really talk to for a while. What do you guys think?
About MLS or about promotion relegation?
Well, they kind of run hand in hand. So
someone like John Townsend, is that who we?
John Townsend's always welcome on this show.
Right.
That's so definitely. If it's going to be John, if John's free, we'll have to hit him up and get him to come on again so we can talk about that. I should mention real quick, since you brought up John Townsend, before we head over to our Champions League and Europa League stuff, I had mentioned earlier when we talked about Clint, I wanted to talk, Year Zero Soccer. Those guys are in the process of possibly putting together a podcast. So, we're certainly rooting for them and including John Townsend and Victor Scamorza. So if we can, if those guys need any help, obviously going to mention it here. We're happy to help out with them in any way we can. They've always come to our rescue from, and helped us out when we needed it. So certainly want to be able to help them out, and just wanted to, I don't know if that's going to, if I'm crossing over the line by announcing that, but those guys are in the process of making or setting up their own podcast, really focused on player development, guys. So I'm going to be interested to hear that. I think it's going to be a rising topic. I think it's going to be fun to listen to those guys talk about that in the near future. So as soon as that happens, we're certainly going to mention it on our end here. So let's move on. Let's head over to the Champions League and Europa League stuff, guys, because we're back to Champions League this week, which is certainly exciting. Let's talk about, I guess, we've got 4 matches coming up this week, and I got to tell you that this drives me nuts. Where we've got 4 matches this week and 4 matches next week. But this Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got Paris Saint-Germain playing Chelsea, which is going to be in our week ahead preview. We've got Shakhtar Donetsk and Bayern Munich. Let's what should we do, guys? Should we cover these one by one, or should we just run through them and then talk about them all as a group?
I mean, it's all up to you. I mean, I don't mind talking about it.
All right, Mike, how about you? What do you think? All at one time, or game by game?
Whichever you like, Joe. I don't have a preference.
Let's go game by game. I saw Joe Prince Wright from NBC Sports published an article earlier today on Twitter about the staff picking each individual result, I guess, moving forward. And for the most part, there were some that were just unanimous, and there were some that had, ebbed and flowed a little bit. Like I said, the Paris Saint-Germain Chelsea matchup we'll talk about in our week ahead, so we'll leave that one alone. But the Bayern Munich Shakhtar Donetsk, guys, I don't see any surprises on this one. I think Bayern's going to win this one and win this one running away. Rob, what are your thoughts on that first?
Yeah, definitely. I think Bayern have the advantage in this match and should get the win for both matches.
I agree. I don't see it any differently. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I'm taking Bayern.
Okay. The other one that I think is sort of a layup is the Real Madrid Schalke matchup on Wednesday. Starting out in Germany for the first leg. Again, Real Madrid, up until very, very recently, really weren't stumbling. They were really firing ahead. Right now, I think the best team in Spain is Barcelona at the moment. But right before them, it certainly was Real Madrid without argument. So I don't see this going any other way. Di Matteo, you've got to remember, is a Champions League winner. He did win the Champions League with Chelsea a few years ago. So, it's not out of the realm, I guess, let's say, but I think it's extremely, extremely unlikely. I see Real Madrid running away with this. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I'm taking Real Madrid myself. I'm just trying to find my predictions here, and I can't find them on my computer. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Rob, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. I see Real Madrid running away with this. But it's going to be interesting to see what is in store for this match.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of match that is one of those, as Ben would call it, a banana peel match, where Schalke is certainly, they have enough quality on their side that they could cause problems for Real Madrid. But I think in the end, we all expect Real Madrid to run away with this. I don't think there's going to be much issue there. So the other matchup for this week is the Basel-Porto match. And now this one is certainly one that is a much closer affair than any of the other ones that we've discussed, any of the other two that we've discussed. Opening in Basel, I'm trying to look up quickly as we're talking about this in terms of their the group stages, just to see which. I believe it was Porto that actually won their group in this one, and Basel finished second. And I'm just looking through. That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, Porto won Group H with Shakhtar Donetsk, Athletic Bilbao, and Bate, and so that was Porto. And Basel ended up finishing second in a group. And I'm just looking up their group quickly with Real Madrid, Liverpool, and Ludogorets. So, certainly a difficult group for them to play there. Although at the time, Liverpool was certainly underperforming. They did beat Liverpool at home in this group, and they also beat Ludogorets at home 4-0 in this group. Last match that they actually had a result in was they drew Liverpool at Anfield 1-1. But losses in this one to Real Madrid 1-0 at home, lost to Ludogorets 1-0 at Ludogorets, and lost to Real Madrid at the Bernabeu 5-1. Expected, you'd expect that group to go that route. I'm surprised about the Liverpool part, but like I said, they certainly were unsuccessful at the time. So between these two, Basel and Porto, what do you guys think? Rob, I'll go to you first.
I think Porto have the advantage because you're looking at a player. I'm trying to remember. I think he's the top goal scorer. Trying to remember his name.
I'm actually
Quaresma?
No. Yassin Brahimi.
Okay.
Brahimi.
For Porto.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that given his performance, him and Jackson Martinez, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say 'cause Jackson Martinez is on this side, and certainly a.
So it's definitely should be something interesting to see.
Yeah.
In regards to kind of one of those matches that any big club advancing into the quarterfinals, whoever gets that match is definitely will have like a quarterfinal, will have like a direct route to the semifinal.
Sure.
If you think about it.
Sure, of course. Mike, how about you? Between Porto and Basel, if you wanted to lay a couple of quid on it.
Okay, well, I still want to get your scores for the other games. If I was to, I'm taking Porto 2-0.
You're going to take Porto 2-0 in this one? Yeah, I would say 2-1. For Porto. I think Porto is a fantastic side. They don't get enough credit. Victor Scamorza in chat with me is saying that Porto is his dark horse.
Rob, what are you taking?
Porto.
Score?
For the first match?
Yeah.
2-0.
Yep, so
same as me. Okay, and let me get your scores on the first game, guys. Sorry, I found my results now. Okay, so the Shakhtar Donetsk Bayern Munich game. Joe?
Is that first match, is it at Shakhtar or is it
Shakhtar, yeah.
Ukraine.
It is in the Ukraine. I'm going to take Bayern 3-0.
All right. And Rob?
Bayern 2-0.
All right, and I am taking a 1-1 draw.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have
that's
a reason?
Proverbial limb. Yeah, I want to know why.
Yeah.
It's the machine.
Well, fair enough.
I don't know, man. That is a
The machine wins 57% of the time, by the way, which any gambler would tell you is a money in your pocket number.
Yeah, yeah. Really, it actually picked the draw 57%, huh?
Well, no, I'm talking about all the leagues that I've run over the last 2 years. It's 57% correct.
Got it. Okay. And what did machine say of this one?
1-1.
1-1.
1-1. Wow. And
home leg for Shakhtar. It could happen. Ukraine's a bad place to go at this time of year.
It certainly is. Victor Scamorza saying the Molson is running strong.
Okay, PSG, Chelsea. What were your scores? Sorry.
Did we talk about this?
I was going to say we didn't talk about it yet because we were going to talk about this in the week ahead.
Schalke, Real Madrid. Then.
Yeah. Real Madrid 3-1. Oh no, this is at Schalke. Real Madrid 2-1.
All right, and Rob.
Real Madrid 3-2.
And I'm going also with 2-1, Joe.
Okay, is that what the machine said?
For Real Madrid. Yes, that is what it said.
Okay. Machines. Okay, so wow, I have a shot at actually being correct this week.
Yeah.
What was Basel Porto for the machine?
2-0 Porto.
2-0 Porto. Okay.
Same as you, Rob.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it actually had Baharami getting a goal.
Oh wow, no kidding. So, gentlemen, before we continue on in this segment, I'm very, very excited to welcome in on Low Limit Football Steven Caldwell from Toronto FC. Steven, this is Joe Usello. How are you tonight?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
We're grateful that you can join us. How was training today?
It was excellent. We got a little bit delayed leaving Toronto, so we got in a little bit later than expected, and by the time we did some lunch and stuff, we got up there a wee bit later. But we got a little bit of workout and try to get the flight out of the legs and get moving and get the heart going a bit so that we can play properly tomorrow.
And I'd certainly imagine the weather in Florida is slightly better than what you left in Toronto, correct?
Yeah, it's a lot warmer. It was very cold this week in Toronto, as you guys know, and it's nice to be somewhere that's, it's sort of 20, 25 degrees. It's pretty nice, and it's a lot better to be on grass and to be in T-shirts outside instead of in the bubble.
All right, my co-host lives
and
in
that's
Toronto.
25 Celsius, by the way, just so everybody realizes, not 25 Fahrenheit.
Either way, cold is cold, that's for sure. So the first question that I wanted to fire off to you, Steven, and again, thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, Toronto FC made some significant moves in the off-season here with Jermaine Defoe going back over to England, to Tottenham, but welcoming in American Josie Altidore and a player from my favorite side in Europe, Sebastian Giovinco from Juventus. Now that you've been on the pitch with them a couple of times together, what are your thoughts on the two players coming in?
Oh, they're fantastic football players. It's exciting to get in players of the caliber of Josie and Seba. So it's very exciting to have them here and to try and make them feel welcome and feel settled into their new side in a new city. So obviously for Seba it's a little bit more difficult with the language barrier, but so far I've been very impressed with him. On the pitch, everybody knows his talents, but he's trying to integrate himself with the boys and obviously learn as much English as he can, as quickly as he can. And he obviously has Michael to help him with the Italian and a few other Italian Canadians that we have around the football club. So like I say, we want them just to settle very quickly and feel comfortable and play their best football.
Mm-hmm. And I totally forgotten that Michael did spend time over at Roma, so he should have a pretty good grasp of the Italian language and help Giovinco along with that. So
yeah, Michael's pretty much fluent in Italian, or he can certainly have a conversation with Seba, and he has been having numerous conversations and probably just relay messages and try and make him feel welcome and settled immediately. So that's a huge plus side to that side of things. Obviously in the park, he knows the language of football, as I say, and that's a universal language, and he certainly has the talent and the quality to improve us and make us a strong team.
Sure. I'm going to turn you over to my co-host Mike Orr. I know both Mike and Rob have plenty of questions for you, but I'm going to send you over to Mike.
Hey Steve, it's Bob. It's Bob here in Toronto. We've talked on Twitter. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I guess my first question for you is, how are you feeling health-wise? How's the quad?
The quad's fine. The quad's been absolutely fantastic since I came back. Obviously, it was a difficult time to come back during the season in terms of fitness, but thankfully it was certainly healed by then. The sort of intermediate point where I tried to come back and failed it to injure me a few times was bitterly disappointing. I think that was anxiety to try and get back and improve the team at that time and to pick up a few results. We were in a little bit of a bad run at the time, so that was a little bit naive on my part, but it was certainly through endeavour and trying to help the lads and obviously improve to pick up some results. But since I came back in September, it's been strong, and I was lacking a little bit of fitness at the end of the season, which I'd like to have felt a little bit fitter. But I guess when you've been out for 12 weeks, it's difficult to feel match sharp quickly, and the games were all very important. So it was a disappointing thing to happen. It happens to anybody at different periods of their career. But
I'm glad to hear you're feeling better. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've had a great off season, and obviously pre-season's been difficult, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm working extremely hard and trying to get myself in the best possible shape to be an asset to the team.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Stephen. We had a little fade out, and I didn't hear what you were saying at the end. I guess another question I wanted to ask you: how does a lad like yourself, who was born in Scotland, never end up playing in the SPL?
I know, it's very strange. It's something that I'll probably be a little bit disappointed about, actually, if my career ends and I haven't played any football in Scotland. It's just the way things go sometimes. I always wanted to go to the English Premier League when I was younger, and I felt that I resisted the temptation to go and play for Celtic or Rangers or Hearts and Midlothian or Hibs. I was often at the teams during the week and training with them, and they wanted to sign me and my brother when we were younger, but we decided to go to Newcastle. It was one of the places we had tried out in England. We had went different vacations and school holidays to a number of teams, Leeds United and Man United and Newcastle and Aston Villa, and I think the place that I certainly felt most at home was Newcastle, and I went there, and my whole career just seemed to stay in England, and I sort of forged a reputation in England, and I just ended up always staying there.
Okay, and this is one I've always wondered. Why the number 13?
Well, that's, I think I made my Scotland debut award number 13, and I found myself wearing that number quite a lot, coming off the bench for Scotland. That was how I first started to like the number. For some reason, I kept being given that number, and I would get my chance maybe after 25 minutes or 40 minutes, 50 minutes. And I got a few caps that way. Then I went to... Hello? Hello?
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm fading in and out here. Sorry, Stephen.
Sorry, I thought I'd cut out there. Yeah, and then I went to... I started in Newcastle. I was 13, and I think I was 6 at Birmingham. 6 at Sunderland, and then Burnley, and then I was 4 at Birmingham. But in between, I'd been 13 at Wigan. It was because, again, the 6 and the 4 were taken up, and I just felt that, and 13 usually is free, which is something that people feel is an unlucky number. But like I say, it's been lucky for me in my early career. It was free at Wigan, so I took it then, and obviously Birmingham back to 4, and when I came to Toronto, I may have asked for 4 or 6 first. I can't even remember, but 13 was free, and it was a number that I wanted.
All right, well, hopefully it brings continued good luck this year. I'll ask you one more question for now before I hand you over to my other co-host, Rob. You've had 12 caps for Scotland and have played 300 league matches in your career in all the top tiers of English football. But where was your favorite place to play, and who was your favorite or best manager you've ever had?
Very difficult questions, actually. I've actually loved everywhere I played. It's been so far I've had a fantastic career. I certainly hold Newcastle in a high regard. It was my first club. It was a city that I still pretty much consider home. My wife's from there, and it's very important to me. And it was disappointing I could never break in properly, but to play a number of times for Newcastle in FA Cup, league matches, Champions League, Europa League. It was, sort of got a taste of everything with Newcastle, and it's a fantastic football club with an unbelievable stadium. So I think they'll always be very special to me, but I honestly hold every club I played for highly. Sunderland was another unbelievable experience. It was in my favourite place to play football, which is the northeast of England. It's a very passionate place to play football. It's the support is constant. It's everywhere you go, you're reminded of who you're representing and what it means to you, and it sort of stays with you for the rest of your career and the rest of your life, saying that. And so North East is very special, but Burnley was again an incredible experience. It was to go up and reach the Premier League with a team like that, who had one of the lowest budgets in the Championship, to actually achieve the success that we did, and to feel the momentum grow as the season went on, with the cup runs that they had in it. I think we played 62 games in that season, culminating in the playoff final at Wembley, beating Sheffield United 1-0. So to walk these steps and to lift that
must have been an amazing feeling.
It was phenomenal. It was, I'd say it's probably a highlight in my career to this point. It was an unbelievable experience. To play at Wembley is something that you can never forget, and to play there in a final where I was lucky enough to win and be captain and walk the steps at the end of it first to lift that trophy. The trophy was something that will never leave me. It was phenomenal. But again, I reiterate, every club I played for was very special. Birmingham was another special club to represent them in the Europa League. I think it was the first time in 50 years Birmingham had been in Europe, so I was lucky enough to represent them in Europa League, to captain them a few times in Europe, and to reach the playoffs in my first season with Birmingham, again playing 60 games with very few players, not with a 25, 30-man squad. You're talking about 20 nucleus, 20 guys, achieving that. So it was great times. I've had a fantastic career so far, and I feel like I've got some football left in me, and I hope I remain in Toronto and that it ends in Toronto, because this is a place that I feel very attached to now, and a city that I want to help achieve success, starting beginning with playoffs and then hopefully one day ending and winning the MLS Cup.
Okay, I guess before I hand you over to Rob, that's a perfect segue for another question I wanted to ask you, but I'll ask it now. Your brother Gary is also a Scottish international and a captain at Wigan Athletic, and I understand he's taking up coaching. I'm wondering if this is something you see for yourself, maybe even at TSC when you hang them up.
Yeah, it's something that I very much hope to do at one stage in my career. It's natural progression, I think, for someone like me to move into coaching. But I will reiterate that I feel like a football player just now. I really enjoy playing football. I know I'm 34, but I feel great, and I definitely want to play for a number of years, as long as people feel that I can help them and produce on the park. I definitely don't want to think about that too early. I think Gary's a little bit different, because he's had his problem with his hips, and he knows his career's come to an end, and now he's thinking about the next stage, which is coaching. And I'm very proud of the career that he's had, and obviously the path that he's taking now, and I'm sure he'll be an outstanding coach. So when my team comes, then I'll learn in the right way from the right people, and use everything that I've picked up throughout the years with the outstanding coaches I've worked with, and hopefully I'll be good at it.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Stephen. I have a ton more questions, but I know my co-host Rob is chomping at the bit to ask you. So, Rob, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be on the show and to speak to you.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yep. My first question to you is, how impressed have you been in regards to Scotland's qualifying process for the Euros? Do you see them going to France next year?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about what's happening with the Scottish national team. It's you have an outstanding manager in Gordon Strachan. I feel he's the outstanding choice to be our manager at this point. He has the right experience and the the tactical knowledge to get the best out of the players that we have. And I do feel we have a very good bunch of players. We have a lot of guys playing in the English Premier League now. We have Celtic, Rangers players. We have all the top Scottish players. I do feel we've got a good bunch, and we're in an extremely difficult group with Germany and Poland, and the other challenges that the teams bring. But I think that we're going forward. I really sincerely hope we make it this time, but if not, I do feel we're building momentum to get to a major finals at some point in the near future.
Okay. How does it feel to play, obviously when you played at Newcastle United, to play with a legend like Alan Shearer? How was he as a teammate? Yeah,
I mean, he was an outstanding player. It was an honour to play alongside him. He was just mentally one of the toughest players I've ever played with or against. He knew what he was good at. He stuck to the qualities. He didn't try anything that he wasn't good at, and he had an unbelievable belief that when his opportunity came that he would score, and he did more often than not. And I learned a great deal from him, how to behave as a professional, how to work hard every single day, and what it takes to be the best possible player that you can be. And like I said, I was fortunate enough. He was my captain for a number of years, and I learned a lot from him personally and professionally on the park. And another honour of mine was actually playing against him in a derby match. I played against him a couple of times for Sunderland against Newcastle, and that was a real honour for me as well to actually play against him too.
Yeah, must have been quite an honour. My next question is: do you see Josie Altidore having to restart his career after, I guess, a bad career at Sunderland for 2 years? Do you feel that him at Toronto will, I guess, restart his national team career going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that internationally he's been pretty good. His record's very good. The goals to games ratio, and to have the number of caps that he has at the age that he has, tells you the quality it has. Unfortunately, things never worked out for him at Sunderland. That could be for a number of reasons. Maybe they didn't play to his style. I know he had a managerial change in there as well. So, it's one of these things. Sometimes it doesn't work out for a player at a club. And now he's moved on, and it's up to us to play to his strengths and to give him the opportunities to be the best that he can be. And I'm sure we can do that. We'll be building our team around giving him the right kind of opportunities.
Okay, absolutely. And just my last question before I pass it over to one of my co-hosts. What are your expectations for Toronto this season? Do you see yourself going very far in the playoffs?
Well, I think that since I've came here, all we ever talk about in Toronto is the expectations and what we believe is going to happen, and where, it seems to be the $1 million question in Toronto with all our sports teams, and I love all of them. I think they're all fantastic. The question that I think is, let's just win games on a regular basis. Let's just be the best we can be and train every day with intensity and an endeavour to be better. And I feel that we're on that right path. And instead of shouting about what we're going to achieve and what we're going to do, let's just start that and win games. I think the potential that they have at this football club's enormous. They have the fan base. They're craving success. They want to get behind us. We have the organisation in MLSE who keep giving us the resources, i.e. the money to spend on these tremendous DPs, huge DPs, and they give us every opportunity to be successful with the facilities that we have. BMO and Proven and the training ground that we have is as good as any I've ever seen in my whole career. So, we have everything in our power to be great. And it's up to us now just to deliver by winning games and by training hard every single day. If we do that, I feel we can certainly achieve playoffs and hopefully achieve an MLS Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you do achieve that goal. I'll be watching this season. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to pass it over to Joe for any questions.
Stephen, I do have a quick question. I know Mike has a few more, so I'm going to pass it over to him in a minute. But there's one question that was sitting on my mind is, with a long storied career both in Europe and in the United States here as well, who was as a central defender, Who was the toughest person you ever had to defend in any of the leagues at any of the time in your career?
Well, I think easily the toughest is Thierry Henry. He springs to mind immediately. The first time I played him was probably about 1-2. And I do feel under that he was the best player in the world.
Stephen, are you still there? It's muffled out a little bit.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. There you go.
Yeah, Thierry, the first time I played against him was 01-02, and he was, I feel he was the best player in the world at that time. He played in an outstanding Arsenal team, and obviously it was very difficult to pinpoint one of them to sort of defend, so you often got left 1v1 at some area of the pitch, and Henry was outstanding. So he's certainly the one that springs to mind quickly for me. I just, you sort of think about games, or I do. I think about games where I had a tough time against a top player. I was very fortunate. I mean, my first game, my debut for Newcastle, I played against George Weah against Man City at Main Road, the old stadium. They used to play it. So, George Weah was coming to the end of his career, but he had obviously been the best player in the world when he had been at Milan a few years earlier. So I've played against some of the best. Alan Boksic was another difficult game that I had when he was at Middlesbrough. The Croatian centre forward played with Marseille, and I think he played with Milan as well, maybe. Outstanding player. So I've been very fortunate. I think when my career ends, I might take some serious time and think back to all the ones that I played against throughout the world, and sort of rate them in my head. But right now I'm just focused on just trying to stop whoever I'm playing against and do my best to keep the ball out of the net.
Sure, I was going to say, from the names that were just rattled off, it sounds to me like a book is in order at the end of the career, don't you think?
It would be good, actually. It would be, it's when you think back, it sort of sinks in a little bit how lucky you've been and how fortunate.
Okay.
I've had a great career and I've played against the best, and I know what it feels to be on that park against, Rooney's and Van Nistelrooy's and Ronaldo's, and I've experienced it, and I'm very grateful and humbled that I've been lucky enough to do that.
My last question, then I'm going to throw you back over to Mike, because I think Mike still has a few more questions. Over the past, I'd say 6 to 8 months, we've seen quite a few changes at Toronto FC, with Tim Biazbachenko coming in as the general manager, Greg Vanny towards the end of last season taking over for Ryan Nelson as the head coach, and so we've seen some change up above, and I think collectively out in the media that has always been the issue with Toronto FC is not the talent on the pitch, but more so the management up at the upper levels. Do you feel that Toronto FC right now is headed in the right direction, and do you think that this is a turn that could take this team into the playoffs?
Yeah, I feel we're obviously building a very good side. It's a process, and I think continuity is very important at any MLS club, any football club really. And the teams that have been successful have that continuity. They have a manager in place who's been there a long time, and they have players that a nucleus of players who stay and they add, and they lose a couple, but they add a couple, but they don't have huge turnover. So I think that's important for Toronto. I think we need to have that consistency, and I feel that hopefully we're getting it now. It's maybe too early to say that for sure, but we have things in place, and we're building a successful team, and it's up to us now to gel and like I say, go out there on a Saturday and pick up results consistently.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was starting to look ahead on the schedule for you guys. I know you guys open, I believe it is on the 7th of March, give or take the player agreement or the work stoppage potential that's going on, but currently slated to open in Vancouver on the 7th. Is there a particular matchup coming up within the next couple of months that you kind of look at the schedule and circle it and say, you know what, that's an important one for us to really come out and play our best? Is there one particular one that you look at?
No, they're all important. Vancouver's going to be a very difficult start. They were outstanding last season. Great young coach, Carl Robinson, a guy who was a teammate of mine at Sunderland in the past and done an outstanding job last season. Took them to the playoffs with a very young squad, and I'm sure they'll have improved and they'll be building again this season. So it's always tough to go away in this league, to travel that amount of distance and to play well in the game is very difficult, and we only have 7 games in the road. So Salt Lake, I think we play third. Vancouver, Columbus, Salt Lake's the first 3. I know that.
And Chicago.
Every one of them are extremely difficult games. So we're going to have a work cut out. We're going to have to be together, and we're going to have to be resilient and tough and mentally strong, and make sure we pick up as many wins as we can, and stay focused on the goal. And if we can do that, then come May, when we can get back home, hopefully we'll have a good few points, and we'll be confident in bringing teams to BMO Field with the improved capacity and hopefully a full stadium, and we can really take it to them.
Sure. To further your point, not only do you open against Vancouver, Columbus, and Salt Lake on the road, you then go to Chicago, FC Dallas, and Orlando and Philadelphia before you actually have your first home match against Houston on May 10th. So that is certainly one heck of a road trip. The one other question that I wanted to ask you before I turn you back over to Mike is we have 2 new expansion teams coming into the MLS this season in Orlando City and NYCFC. Any thoughts on the 2 teams as we open up? I know everyone's beaten NYCFC to death in terms of analyzing them because of all the moves they made, and no one seems to be talking enough about Orlando City. I'd like your thoughts on both teams just quickly.
Very exciting. I think 2 fantastic cities, passionate for soccer. Orlando has been a good club in the lower league for a number of years, and now they're getting up to the MLS, and they have no less a player than Kaka as their DP. So I'm sure that'll be a real experience. I know they're going to play at the Citrus Bowl for a year, and it's not going to be their home, but I'm sure it'll be rocking, and it'll be a huge capacity certainly for the first few games, probably the whole season. So that'll be exciting, and New York City speaks for itself. They've made 2 outstanding DP signings, and it's one of the best cities in the world, New York, to play. They're going to be at Yankee Stadium, which is an iconic and unique place to play any sport, never mind soccer. So very exciting. Looking forward to going to both of the places and expecting big things from the franchises.
Okay. I'd say it's certainly an exciting time to be able to play some of those players. We may be adding more players to that book when you get to write it at the end of the career. So I'm going to pass you over to Mike now. I know Mike has a couple of more questions before we let you go. So go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Steven. Thanks for taking my questions. It's often been said that the English Championship is the most competitive league in all of football, and I'm wondering, where do you think the MLS fits in terms of competition? Is it somewhere equal with the championship, somewhere just below it? Do you think the LA Galaxy, last year Cup winner, could compete for promotion in the championship?
Yeah, I certainly do. I've always found it very difficult to place leagues, Mike. It's a unique set of circumstances that we play in here. We play in a summer league. We play in a lot of humidity from pretty much May until September. So the conditions are very different. We play in turf a number of times as well, and we travel huge distances to playing games. So all these factors make it very, very difficult to play in this league, and it's a very fit league with the quality getting better every single year. And I do feel that more football gets played in the MLS than it does in the Championship. The Championship's difficult and resilient and very tough to be successful, but it can be a bit of a slog. They play probably, I don't know what we play, 34, and they play 46 regular season games, so that's an extra 12 games on top of our schedule, and it's a tough league to play in. But the quality, Galaxy are one of the best, the best team I've played in the MLS since I came here last season. They were outstanding, and I felt they were going to win it from that day. and I've only played against them once, so they for me are the benchmark, but there's a lot of teams very close to them, and we hope to be one of the teams in the very near future.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted to ask you about one of the younger players on the squad who was a bright spot last season, and your sometimes partner in the backfield, Nick Hagelin. What do you think of his progression throughout last season and going forward to this year? Do you see him as an everyday player in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think he's an outstanding player. He's got great athleticism. Wants to learn, wants to listen and get better. I think he'll improve as the years go on, as his knowledge and tactical awareness gets better. I think that last season he obviously improved leaps and bounds through playing, but I do feel there was a period in time, through no fault of his own, where he was asked to do a little bit too much. He was, it was very difficult for Daniel and Nick, with myself injured, to play week in, week out at that middle part of the season, when I felt it might have been to his benefit to maybe have a rest for a little bit in there. But I expect big things from him. I'm very proud of him. I think that he'll have a fantastic career in the MLS or in Europe if he chooses. And he's a great lad who is improving day in, day out, and like I say, wants to listen and learn.
Yeah, I agree. He was really good at the beginning of the year, but like you said, a few injuries to yourself and a couple others really put probably undue pressure on him, and his play suffered a little bit, but he looks like he's going to be a good one in the future.
For sure.
One more question before I let you go, Steven, and thanks again for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to have you. I wanted to ask you about I believe he's a friend of yours and a good friend of yours that signed for Chicago this year, Sean Maloney, and what do you see for him in the league this season?
Yeah, Sean's a good friend of mine. He's very close to my brother, so I've known Sean for a number of years. They've played at Celtic and Wigan together, and I've spent a lot of time with Sean internationally and in Manchester area. I'm pleased for him. I think he's an outstanding player. He has great quality. His set plays are second to none, and he's very sharp. He can always find a yard and set things up or score goals himself. He's going to be very successful for Chicago, and I think that if they can keep him fit, keep him on the pitch. He's had the odd trouble with injuries, but it's important that they keep him fit and they manage him correctly, and I think they'll do very well in the MLS.
Okay, great. And before I send you back to Joe, what are the chances that the season starts on time?
Well, we're pretty far apart at the moment. It's disappointing, but we're trying to find. We're working extremely hard to find a solution. We just feel that the players who helped build this league should be rewarded properly. So, like I say, both teams are very committed to finding an agreement and a solution, but it's hard to say at this moment.
All right. Thanks again, Steven, for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure, and let's go TFC.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Steven, thank you again for joining us. We've really enjoyed our time, and hopefully we can check back in with you sometime mid-season and talk about the success you're having.
Anytime, guys.
Great. Thanks again.
Thanks, Steven.
Thank you.
And that was Steven Caldwell from Toronto FC. Guys, I got to say, we've had him on for about 45 minutes at least, so we're grateful for the time that he spent. Not once did we ever ask him about the captaincy. We all missed it.
Well, we didn't want any controversy.
I didn't want to ask him about it.
I
didn't want to either. And when I talked to him during the week just to confirm, that he was coming on and everything, I had asked him if it was okay to talk about, and he said absolutely, it was no problem. So, but there was so much more to talk about than just the captaincy that. We could have literally had him on for at least another hour, and I always try to maintain some semblance of time conservation with our guests to make sure that we're not holding them too long. And obviously, very, very gracious with his time. We're grateful. Certainly, one of the goals of this particular podcast, as young as it is, to have someone who is an active player just come off the pitch from training to talk to us is fantastic. So I'm excited, and definitely worth.
I'm a little disappointed at the beginning. My connection was fading out.
Yeah, no, I'd heard that. I think it was on your end, but I don't. Steven certainly didn't have any issue. I didn't have any issue hearing him except for that one time, but I think it was just muffled. It might have been the way he was standing or talking.
Yeah, I think he might have moved away or something to go to do something. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But other than that, it was fantastic. Like I said, absolute pleasure to have him on, and we really enjoyed it for sure. So I know we've still got our week ahead coming up, and we were going to talk about the Europa matches coming up this week. Also, Nabae is almost ready to come on to chat with us as well. I think Nabae's going to come down and we'll talk a little bit of Champions League with him. Just really quick, I know with the Europa League coming up this week, I know we have a match that we've chosen for our week ahead look at the end of the show. One of the other matches that I just wanted to look at, guys, and I know you guys know that I chose the Tottenham-Fiorentina match to kind of look ahead. But a couple of matches that stand out for me in the Europa League this week, guys. Roma Feyenoord, especially with the way Roma's been playing lately, they've kind of been stumbling. This Feyenoord side is not a bad side, and it could, again, banana peel time for them. The other one that I think is of great interest is Celtic Inter. Inter is certainly playing much, much better than they have been in the past. Xherdan Shaqiri was a big ad for them, but Celtic again is one of the powerhouses in football. So it's going to be, it's going to be an interesting match to watch. Any of the matches that stood out to you guys, Rob? I'll go to you first. Any matches that stood out to you?
No, I mean obviously Celtic Inter, like you previously mentioned, and Tottenham Fiorentina. Yeah.
How about you, Mike? What do you think?
Sorry, Joe, I missed your question. I was retweeting something.
Yeah, no. Is aside from the I had picked the Celtic Inter match, which is another interesting match for me, and the Roma Feyenoord match, as it could be something. You see two teams, Feyenoord, playing pretty well over in Dutch football, and Roma has been stumbling as of late. It could be the proverbial banana peel match. Any other matches that you might want to talk about? I do see one more on the list that we could easily talk about. But any matches that intrigue you for the Europa League coming up this week?
The Tottenham Fiorentina match will be the one that I'll be watching. I'm not a big Europa League guy,
and I think that's the match of the week. But the other one that kind of caught my eye last minute, and I think I could have easily swapped out the Tottenham Fiorentina match for this one, is the Sevilla Mönchengladbach match. Sevilla, keep in mind, is the defending champion, the defending Europa League champion. Mönchengladbach currently sitting third in the Bundesliga behind Wolfsburg, only 8 points behind Wolfsburg. So I think we could see, another great match from there, from those two sides. As well, I think we could have an interesting little showdown there. So obviously, Liverpool Besiktas is going to be interesting. Liverpool looking like they might be turning the corner. Besiktas right now, I believe, is sitting top of the Turkish league. Last I had checked, and so that's another intriguing matchup to say the least. And then obviously Sporting.
Hello.
Nabae, actually, well, let's welcome him on. Joining us in Low Limit Football now is the editor-in-chief at Houndsport and Hound Soccer. That's Nabae Asfar. Nabae, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back, guys. How you doing?
Good. We were just actually finishing up our discussion of the Europa League. Just a couple of matches to watch before we hit our week ahead and our closing segment of the show. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the Europa League fixtures coming up this week. If you have, is there anything that kind of stands out to you?
Well, I mean, the most obvious one is I think you guys were just talking about it, Tottenham and Fiorentina.
Yeah, I think that's our match of the week, and certainly one of the red flags of the Europa League to begin with. I was just about to dive into a couple of the other ones, like Wolfsburg Sporting. Looks like an intriguing matchup. We talked about Sevilla Mönchengladbach as another interesting one, especially with Sevilla being the defending champ and Mönchengladbach currently sitting third in the Bundesliga. So I know.
Yeah, I have interest in that one too, just because of Thorgan Hazard. He's a Chelsea guy, all loan.
That's right.
And he's been playing really well lately too. Actually, they've been trying to purchase him for permanently.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that yet, so that's a little.
A lot of talk during this winter transfer window that just closed that they were trying to get a deal done to wrap him up for good, but Mourinho wasn't willing to part ways with him just yet.
Right. Taking it off the Europa side and moving it over to the Champions League side, we've obviously got 4 matches coming up this week. Probably the highlight of the 4 is the PSG-Chelsea match, which we're going to highlight at the end of the show. But amongst the Shakhtar Donetsk, Bayern Munich, Basel Porto, and Schalke Real Madrid matchups, anything you expect out of any of these matches?
Just for these Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yeah, just for these Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Next week's another show and another batch of matches. So.
Okay, well, I mean, Chelsea PSG has an extra kind of twist to it now because PSG has like 6 players injured right now.
Right.
Just in their last league match against Kane, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they suffered 6 injuries. And Laurent Blanc just came out and said that Serge Aurier, Johan Cabaye, and Lucas Moura are officially out.
Oh, wow, okay.
And Thiago Motta, Blaise Matuidi, and Marquinhos are all doubtful.
That's a big deal because those are some big names missing off of that side. Going depleted into a matchup against Chelsea. I mean, obviously this week, PSG drawing Cannes 2-2.
Yeah.
Even though they've got a healthy Ibrahimovic back, missing guys of that quality between Thiago Motta, who really plays that central, that defensive midfield role, very, very strong. Marquinhos.
He played really well against Chelsea last year, too.
Yeah, so these are big misses for them to have going into this match.
Well, this could open up the door for Adrien Rabiot, 19-year-old defensive midfielder, who's very, very highly touted, and actually in the summer transfer window, Chelsea were linked to him as well.
Okay.
So could be a chance for him to kind of show us all what he's got. He's supposed to be really, really talented.
Okay. Moving forward, and I'm going to throw it over to my co-hosts in a moment. Just moving forward, I think the other, we've got 3 major sides, really 4 major sides playing this week with the PSG-Chelsea match, and then you have Bayern Munich, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Real Madrid, Schalke. I'm
really interested to see if Shakhtar can give Bayern Munich a fight.
And that was something that we were talking about a few minutes ago before Steven Caldwell came on. This is the kind of thing, going to the Ukraine to play a match is certainly no safe bet these days, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So I think of the 2 matches, even though I think collectively we would say that Munich and Real Madrid are going to move through to the next round, you feel that Munich is probably the one that's in most danger of slipping up here?
It's hard to say that because, they just came off of an 8-0 victory,
Right.
They're just demolishing teams left and right. But the travel to Ukraine and the fact that Shakhtar are a talented squad, they're not a pushover by any means. My gut tells me you're crazy, they're gonna get crushed. But there's just this lingering feeling I have that I don't think they're going to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than many might think. I think they can get a draw at home here and then go into Munich with a shot at maybe nicking an away goal and who knows.
Right.
So I'd like to see them make a match out of it and really give them a fight. And I really think they can. And, I hope that my heart is right in this case and that, logic trumps, my love trumps logic, if you will.
Right. No, I believe you. So, I there was a question that just slipped off my mind. I'm gonna actually let's talk about Houndsport real quick and kind of what's going on there. One thing you and I have been working on, and hopefully we'll have corrected in a couple of weeks, is the possibility of doing a live broadcast through Houndsport. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, we were talking about having that for the Real Madrid Barca match, right?
Right, the El Clasico.
Yes. Yeah, we were thinking of kind of having a live broadcast where it would be nice to have live instant fan reaction as the game's being played.
Right.
And hopefully we can work out the kinks and actually make it happen so that we can have a plug-in where our podcast is live on the Houndsports website. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I guess neither of us are as smart as we think we are in that regard. But I'm sure we can figure it out soon.
I was gonna say we did get it kind of fired up, earlier in the week where we got it connected. So I think maybe off the air it's tough to work on as we're on the air. But
so we managed to have that play, stop, pause function.
Yeah.
And as I was trying to do it today before the podcast, it was there, but we just couldn't hit play.
Okay, so we'll definitely have to work on that with the tech people.
Right.
But yeah, just to reiterate, if we can get this up and running, Rob, Mike, and myself are going to live broadcast during El Clasico and kind of give you our play-by-play and our opinion as it actually happens. So I guess we'll really see if we kind of know what we're talking about.
That crazy instant fan reaction. You might hear some screams.
Exactly. I will certainly do my best Ray Hudson if I can do that. So, definitely going to do that.
Magisterial.
Yeah, exactly. I plan on throwing a magisterial in there, especially when Lionel Messi has the ball. So.
Oh yeah.
So one other thing I want to talk about, Nabae, real quick before we let you go tonight is some of the fantasy soccer stuff going on that you guys are affiliated with. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Actually have a deal with Draft11.com, which is a pretty new daily fantasy soccer site. And we kind of talked about this a little bit the first time I was on, how daily fantasy sports has, taken off, and there really hasn't been a site that's catered to the soccer fan. Mm-hmm. Well, now we have a dedicated site that is focused on just daily fantasy soccer and nothing else.
Right.
So Draft11.com, if you want to go there real quick and see the setup, it's EPL, Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, and Champions League. Mm-hmm. Those are the choices you have to play. And, if you're familiar with the official Premier League website and how they have the fantasy soccer set up, it's kind of like a blend of that and the daily fantasy, idea, where you have a $100,000 budget. You draft a team of 11, and you join a contest. Like there's a contest for the Champions League matches coming up here. So for Tuesday and Wednesday, you've got you pick your players that are playing Tuesday and Wednesday, staying within your budget, and there's a scoring system they have on there. So your goals, assists, tackles, red cards, yellow cards, all your normal scoring systems, and they've added a couple things as well to make it a little more interesting in terms of the scoring. And then you can join a free contest, you can join a $10 contest, $22 contest. There's a lot of choices you have, and unlike the official Premier League fantasy site where they kind of restrict you to only 3 players, you can only pick up to 3 players from a specific team. Mm-hmm. You don't have that restriction with Draft 11, so you can pick as many players as you want from the same team, no problem. And you can also enter your team into a contest as many times as you want. Okay. So you're not restricted to just one entry per contest, which is also something that other websites restrict you from doing.
Okay.
So it's a cool concept. I've been waiting for it ever since Daily Fantasy came about, and right now you can join. It's free to join. You can join and just play a free contest and win money, free money. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing. To be completely honest with you, I'm just giving it a shot. I'm entering a couple of free contests, mm-hmm. Creating my team, see if I can get lucky and win some money.
Right.
Why not? And it's also, you don't have a bench as well. If anyone's familiar with the official Fantasy Premier League website, mm-hmm. you have a bench of 4 players, 1 goalkeeper and 3 outfield players or 4 outfield players. And if a player doesn't play from your starting lineup, it automatically subs in someone from your bench that did play. That's not an option with Draft 11, so you only have the 11 players that you select. And if you're not paying attention and one of your starting 11, doesn't play because he's injured or something, then you're just going to get a 0 for that player. So that also kind of keeps you on your toes to make sure that you're following, the starting lineups as they're released, so you can make any adjustments that are necessary.
Oh, cool. So this is something I also want to mention, that if people want to go on and try Draft 11, what they should do is actually go to the Houndsport website and use the links at Houndsports website to join Draft 11, correct?
Yes, I've actually just submitted a new article with a couple of sleepers and busts to watch out for these upcoming Champions League matches.
Okay.
So that's on the front page right now. Click on any one of the links in that article, and it'll take you to the sign-up page so that you can get the Houndsports promotion that is going on right now.
There you go. So I'm going to throw it over to Rob. I know Rob has a question for you. So, Rob, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Nabae. I just have one question. What are your predictions for the match tomorrow against PSG? Do you have any hopes, doubts, anything?
Well, the fact that PSG is kind of limping into this match gives me higher hopes than I initially had. Initially, if you asked me last week with a fully healthy PSG, I would have said, maybe 1-1 draw. But now with all of these injuries, and I think that Mourinho is kind of gonna, smell blood in the water and go for the kill, because of these injuries and because it's an away match, and we all know how away goals are. Can be of importance here. I think he's going to come out and really go for the jugular. I'm going to say, I'll say 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 in Paris?
Yep.
And in London?
In London, clean sheet, 1-0.
Clean sheet. All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
That would be impressive. I think the 2-1 would be even more impressive, strictly because the 2 away goals would be such an uphill climb for PSG to come back on the return leg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they could have overcome 2-1. Certainly 2-0. I don't think they could overcome 2-0 at all. Let's say Chelsea walks out of Paris with a 2-0 victory. You can bet your money that the school bus, the transit bus, and the double-decker bus will all be parked in front of that goal at Stamford Bridge. I don't see how he wouldn't. And let's be honest. I mean, if you knew you had a team that was good enough defensively to play like that, and you were up 2-0 coming home, I would do the same thing.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's part of the game. You do whatever you got to do to win.
Sure. I mean, Diego Costa, good luck. We're not going to help you up there, so it's 1-11, but it's just that's how I would treat it as well. So
yeah.
So Nabae, again, thanks for coming on and joining us, especially on such late notice.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
We always appreciate you coming on, and hopefully you and I will get the kinks worked out so that we can do that live broadcast and fire away from there.
Definitely. I look forward to it.
Cool. Thanks, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Nava.
Thank you.
And that was Nabae Asfar, the head producer. I'm sorry, the senior editor at Houndsport. And again,
was he laughing about what I wrote in chat at the end?
I think he was. And as our resident Manchester City fan would have put in chat, Chelsea boring football. So and I can tell you if they go back to Stamford Bridge up 2-0, you will get Chelsea boring football. And if I'm Jose Mourinho, I would play Chelsea boring football myself. So no doubt about it. So.
Like even more boring than they already play, you mean?
Yeah, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would say for you it would be a snooze fest. For me as an Italian it would be Catenaccio, but
what's worse?
No, I think the snooze fest for Sir Bob would be much worse.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so. All right, boys. Well, I don't have any intro music for it, but we are at the new final segment of our show, and that is the week ahead. So I think, guys, what we should probably do is take these as we cover them in our leagues. So, Rob, I'm going to throw over to you for our La Liga match of the week.
Yeah, like we previously mentioned, Barcelona against Malaga.
That's
correct?
Right. Yeah, that is right. The Barcelona-Malaga game. That is being played on Saturday.
Yep.
All right. Any predictions on this one, real quick? I know. Mike's got Mike's worked the configurator on him. So, any predictions?
Barcelona 3-0.
3-0, and this is at the new camp. I'm just looking at the previous run of results. Barca's won 4 of the last 6 matches. The other 2 being draws. Most recently, though, they played on January 16th of 2013, which was a 2-2 draw for the two teams. But prior to that, Barca 4-2, Barca 4-1, Barca 1-0, Barca 3-0. And I think you're right. Probably a 3-1 Barca win. Even a 3-0 Barca win the way they've been playing lately, I think is in order here. Mike, what does the configurator say?
The simulator. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call it the simulator now instead of the machine because the machine doesn't sound right. So the simulator has simulated a 2-0 Barcelona victory. Suarez and Iniesta with the goals.
There is no way Lionel Messi is staying off the score sheet in this one. He is way too on fire to not.
You hear that, folks? Bet against it.
Bet against it. I'm predicting a Messi goal, at least one Messi goal in this one. I mean, I don't know if that's really that far-fetched, but Messi currently on the season, 23 games played, 26 goals. Second place, Neymar, and 17 goals. But I do like the Suarez prediction because he seems to be playing much, much better as of late, really getting his legs under him, and that can spell nothing but bad news for anybody playing Barcelona. So,
let me ask you this, guys.
Yeah.
Do you see him being able to catch up to Cristiano Ronaldo to win Golden Boot for the league?
I forget how.
Messi's with 26, Ronaldo with 28.
Yes. The way they're playing right now, yes, absolutely, 100%.
Sir Bob?
What? Say it again. Sorry, Rob.
Can Messi be able to catch up to Cristiano Ronaldo in the La Liga race for most goals?
And he's 3 behind him?
2.
2.
Yeah, he can. Oh, yeah, for sure. He can. I'm not saying he will, but yeah, he can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on. Let's go to our Ligue 1 match of the week, which is going to be Saint Etienne versus Marseille. Currently, in terms of run of form, Marseille is 2-2-2 in their last 6, but Saint Etienne has lost 3 of their last 4. Saint Etienne, for me, has always been a tough out at home. Most recently, they did lose 1-0 to PSG at home, and they did draw Lens 3-3. So that even though they normally play well at home, a little off form lately. Saint Etienne currently in 4th place on 41 points. Marseille currently 2nd. Ricky van Wolfswinkel, the top scorer with Hamouma with 4 goals each, and Dimitri Payet. Wolfswinkel with 5 goals, Erding with 4 goals, Pierre-Andre Gignac with 14 goals, and Payet for 6 goals for Marseille. I'm going to go with an easy 1-1 draw in this one. Most recent run of form between the two of them, Saint Etienne is 1 win, 3 losses, and 2 draws against Marseille. So I'm going to go with a. Most recently, they played to a 0-0 draw at Saint Etienne on May 7th of. I'm sorry. Most recently, Marseille winning at home 2-1. Most recent match at Saint Etienne was a 1-1 draw and that was on February 16th of 2014. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw again as well. Rob, how about you?
For one match? Sorry.
This is Saint Etienne Marseille.
Marseille 2-1.
Marseille 2-1. And Mike?
All right, Joe, I'm going with 2-1, and a lot of the names you mentioned are the goal scorers. Ricky von Wolfswinkel, my old alias in chat.
That's right.
And Hamuna for Saint Etienne, and Gignac, or how is it, Gignac?
Gignac.
Gignac for Marseille. 2-1 at Saint Etienne.
2-1 Saint Etienne. Also, you keep in mind another guy that should be coming back from a very successful Cup of Nations is Max Gradel for Saint Etienne. So it'll be interesting to see if he can continue his run of play from Africa and the Cup of Nations back into France against this Marseille side, who has been a little so-so as of late. So I'm going to throw you over to Germany. Let's look at the German game of the week, Rob.
Yeah, German game of the week. I think it's Schalke Mönchengladbach?
Nope, it's
Augsburg and Leverkusen.
Augsburg Leverkusen, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tough match for either side.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's one result and they'll be in third place given the result for Schalke. But I'm going to give Wolfsburg. They have an amazing run of form, and I think they're going to win it 2-0.
You mean Augsburg?
No, Wolfsburg.
Oh, no, we're talking
it's Augsburg against Leverkusen.
Augsburg, Leverkusen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, Leverkusen then, 2-0, given they, I think they're going to come back from that match against Wolfsburg, so they definitely need revenge, and I think they're going to take it on this one against Augsburg.
Sure. Obviously losing 5-4 to Wolfsburg earlier this week. Obviously with guys like Bellarabi and Bender, Spahic and Son scoring 3 goals in that match for Leverkusen, bringing his total on the season to 8. I've got to think, Augsburg is a decent side. These teams are only separated by 2 points. Leverkusen lost their last 2 matches, the 5-4 match to Wolfsburg, and then prior to that they lost on the road to Werder Bremen 2-1. But Rob, I think you're right. I think I think that they probably stand to win this one. So I would take Leverkusen in this one 2-1 as well. Mike, what does the simulator say?
I think you're both wrong.
Okay.
And I'm going to take Augsburg 2-1.
Wow. All right. Then we should. I hope you're writing these down because I actually haven't been.
Yeah. I've got them all recorded. I've got our standings. Don't worry. I've got every week.
Fantastic. So, all right. So we're going to be head to head on the Augsburg Leverkusen match. Let's go over to Sampdoria Genoa, which is going to be our Serie A match of the week. Samp has, like we had said, since the transfer window has not won a match. They've lost 2 and they've drawn 2. Gabbiadini with 7 goals and Eder with 7 goals for Sampdoria. Genoa is certainly charged by the addition of, actually not charged. I'm sorry, they lost Alessandro Matri, but back to Juventus. But for some reason, since then have beaten Lazio on the road 1-0, and this week beat Verona 5-2. So certainly scoring some goals there. These two teams are separated. Actually, they're not separated at all. They're separated by goals. They're both on 35 points. Samp is currently listed as 6th, and Genoa 7th. This match is at Sampdoria, however, and this Sampdoria side had started out so well this season. To see them falter to 6th place, I'm going to say they get off the slide here, and I'm going to predict a 2-1 Sampdoria victory in this one. I know for me it's kind of going out on a limb, especially since they haven't won yet this season. But I'm going 2-1 Samp. Rob, how about you?
Yeah, 2-1 Samp.
2-1 Samp. Mike, what does the old simulator say?
It says 2-1 Sampdoria.
Wow. All right. So
was that the same score you guys had?
Yeah, both of us. That's what we're both looking at. So Mike, I'm gonna
Duncan Muriel for Sampdoria, and is it Falcu or Falcu for Genoa?
Falque, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the scores.
All right. So Mike, your turn to preview a match, and it's the Southampton-Liverpool match.
Okay, that is taking place on Sunday. It'll be the late game, 11 o'clock, I believe, Eastern Time. Mm-hmm. 4th place versus 7th. I think this should be a really good game, actually. And I'm going to take Southampton to beat Liverpool 2-0.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. Liverpool, just looking at their run of form right now, they're winners of 4 of their last 5. They're currently sitting in 7th place. Southampton is 2 wins, a draw, and a loss in their last 4. The loss coming to Swansea 1-0, and the draw was this week drawing 0-0 to West Ham.
And I think that loss was their only loss at home so far this year.
I believe that is correct.
Or maybe it's their only loss other than the Manchester teams. I'm not sure, but they've had really good home form.
And for me, I look at this as a battle of Italian strikers between Graziano Pelle and Mario Balotelli, although Pelle certainly had the better of the 2 seasons, I would say. For me... God, I got to think, I'm sorry, not Sterling. Is Sturridge back? Is Daniel Sturridge back? I can't remember.
Yep.
He is back.
Yep.
I'm taking
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Yesterday.
Oh, I'm taking Liverpool. I'm going to take Liverpool to beat Southampton at Southampton 2-1.
All right.
Rob?
2-2 draw. 2-2 draw.
What did the simulator say?
2-0 Southampton.
Okay. I'm going against.
And Rob, you were, Joe, you were 1-2.
Yeah, I'm Liverpool for the victory in this one.
All right, and Rob was 2-2.
2-2.
Do you have the table there, Joe?
I don't have the table, but if you give me one moment, I can certainly call up the table.
The table of the Premier League.
The Premier League.
Yeah, I believe one of those teams might not have a draw. Either Southampton doesn't have a draw at home, or Liverpool doesn't have a draw on the road. Which is it?
I don't have a way to see that. If you let me do a little research, I can possibly.
Oh no, I'll get it. It's the ESPN table.
I think it was Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
They drew Everton.
No, one of them doesn't have a draw though.
Oh yeah. Oh, Southampton.
Yeah, no draws at home, right?
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so there you go. So the draw is certainly not a probability. Let's put it that way. How's that? So let's go to our Champions League match and Europa League matches of the week. Let's start with the Champions League match. We have PSG Chelsea, obviously with Nabae coming on and giving us all that information about the injuries that PSG are going to have to suffer through on this one. Chelsea obviously playing as one of the best sides in the world at this point. You have a prediction on this one or a simulation on this one, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go Chelsea. I'm going to take the 2-1 Chelsea result that Nabae had said before in the show. 2-1 Chelsea for me. How about you, Rob?
For what match?
Chelsea PSG.
The first leg in Paris.
That's correct. I'd like to add Victor Scamorza 2-0 for Chelsea.
You know what? 2-1. 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea.
Just because even though it's in Paris and they do have lack of players, I still see them somehow scoring. But I think Chelsea have the upper hand regardless of the players who they have.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Mike, what do you got?
Same, 2-1 Chelsea. Hazard, Costa, Lucas for PSG.
There you go. So
can I just confirm something? Okay, so Bayern Munich, Shakhtar Bayern Munich. Sorry, Joe, you had 3-0. Rob, you had 2-0.
I believe so. Yep, 3-0.
Yep. Okay. Schalke, Real Madrid. Joe, you had 2-1 for Real Madrid, and Rob, you had 3-2 for Real Madrid.
That sounds right.
Yep.
Okay, and Basel, Porto. Joe, you had 2-1 Porto, and Rob, you had 2-0
Porto.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
We're good. Okay. Last match of the night in our look ahead this week, it's going to be Tottenham-Fiorentina. This one is going to be played at White Hart Lane. The Italian in me wants to just say Fiorentina like 17-0, but I know that's not going to be the case. I'm going to take a draw. I'm going to take a 1-1 draw in this one. Rob, how about you?
Is it in England or in Italy?
It's at White Hart Lane.
2-1 Tottenham. 2-1. And I'm going to make a bet on this one.
Yeah?
Kane to score anytime and Salah to score for Fiorentina.
And Salah for Fiorentina?
Yep, Salah. I see it.
Okay. All right. So,
I see it.
Mike, what do we got?
2-0 Tottenham, Kane and Soldado.
Oh God, Soldado, he's still on the team?
Yep.
He plays in the Europa, actually.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, gentlemen, let's hit the away music.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
The
I
answer.
can pause. Let's get the answer to the trivia question.
Well, actually, let's take our guess first. What your guess was?
Give us the question again.
All right, just let me open it up here. I have played in the Merseyside, the Tyne Weir. I should ask this to Steven Caldwell, actually. Okay, I have played in the Merseyside, Tyne Weir, North London, West London, and the Manchester Derbies, all in the Premier League era. Who am I?
I wanted to say Frank Lampard, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. But I'll go Frank Lampard.
All right, and Rob, what was your guess?
Michael Owen?
No. That was a close, though.
I was thinking, because he played for those 3 derbies, definitely.
It is, or I am, Louis Saha.
Louis Saha, really? Oh, my God. I would have never picked Saha. So, all right. So now we can officially hit the closing music, correct?
I think
so. Go for it.
All right. So, again, for episode 61 of Low Limit Football, special thanks again to Steven Caldwell for joining us, for Euan McTear for joining us, and for Nabae Asfar from Houndsports for joining us. Coming up next week, we have Alan Gunn, Kevin Flynn, and potentially, because I don't think we have confirmation yet, Jason Davis. Again, so special thanks to all our folks for joining us. Special thanks to Victor Scamorza for joining me in the chat. Even though it's a personal chat, he kind of chats with me on the side, so thanks for joining me again tonight. So for episode 61 of Low Limit Football, I'm Joe Usello.
And I'm Roberto Rojas.
And I'm Mike Orr.
Thanks again for joining us, and good night.
Thanks for listening.